Hey Bill, it's Ian. Listen, I was wondering, do you like Magic?
Magic? You mean the card game?
No. Hey Ed, just wondering, do you like Magic?
Magic? Like the card game?
No, not the fucking card game! Hey Alec, I was just wondering, you want to do a video about Magic?
About what?
About Magic?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I freaking love Magic. It's awesome.
Yeah, finally, thank God. I swear to God, if one more person tells me the fucking card game, I'm gonna just rip their face off, you know? Just...
Though I only have a few of them.
Wait,
No,
what?
nothing.
More-
No.
more
No,
or
no,
less?
I don't. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
What were
anyway,
you saying about the
like I said,
Ben and
I
Trevor?
wanna talk about, you know, Penn
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Teller.
Penn and Teller. Yeah.
Yeah, you wanna do a video on it? Gentlemen, it's time once again to discuss things.
Hey, I'm Esplin 227. Oh wait, no, I'm Esplin 227. That's a lizard. This is a lizard.
Let's get started then. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to. I've finally figured out a name for it. Geeky Gentleman. Seriously,
Geeky
man, we've been looking for a name. Joining us today to once again replace Bill, who is sadly not with us again. And you'll see why here in a minute. Is Epsilon? Am I saying that right? Epsilon.
Nah, it's Esplin.
Esplin. Okay, Esplin 227. Am I right? Is that the?
Yes.
Okay, Esplin 227, who is a friend of Milan and I's on Skype, and we've talked a couple times before, but this will probably be one of our longer conversations. So welcome on the show, Esplin.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Can I call you by your first name, or would you prefer your YouTube name?
Oh, either one, whichever you prefer.
All right, Esplin or Alec. We'll mix it up. You know, variety's cool. You can refer to me as Ian, Sid, Sir, Ruler, Amazing
Okay.
One, Jesus. You know, any of those. It's fine.
I'm partial to Vizier. You like Vizier?
What's that mean?
It's like a king or a pharaoh or something.
Okay, yeah, sure. That'll work. All right, and also with us today, though you will not hear him, is Milan Jeftik 1992, because today's topic is the art of magic. No, not the fucking card game, like everyone seems to think that I ask, hey, do you like magic? And they're like, the card game? I'm like, no! Why is that the first place everyone goes?
Well, think about it. Like, in what context would? Because God, I can't. It's like I can't talk. No, because illusions are literally at least the third thing that comes to mind. You know, but that could be because of the religious debate and all that. Because at first I thought you meant the card game. Then I'm thinking, is he into Wicca? Is he about to preach to me? You know? It's like I don't believe in any magic. It's not just that.
All right. Well, anyway, today's topic, like I said, is magic, and you won't hear Milan Jeftik 1992 because the two magicians we're probably going to talk about the most are Penn and Teller. And Milan was so impressed with Penn and Teller that he decided to adopt Teller's persona for this one video. Or maybe his microphone isn't working. It's either of those possibilities, whichever one you, the viewer, feel is more likely. And Bill will not be joining us because Magician made him disappear, and, well, I mean, they never brought back the Statue of Liberty, and it's really hard to bring back Godzilla, so we have to wait until another sequel comes out for Godzilla to come back, guys. Welcome, new viewers who have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Esplin is your guide today.
I am.
Yes, the continuity of this show, since you can ask any question that confuses you. Try not to, though, because we'll be here for 3 hours again.
Okay, let's hope I can talk about magic for 3 hours. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we usually do this. We're trying to set up a formula of talking about like a movie or a book or something, and then going into the greater ideas and implications behind that, and then the other week doing something that's more idea based. Here we're kind of cheating. We're blending the two. The movie we're going to focus on and then use that as a branching off point from the review is the Christopher Nolan film, The Prestige. Now, those of you that follow me religiously will know that I did a review of The Prestige with Senornerd on YouTube just about a month or two ago. So we won't be talking too much about the film itself, more than we're going to talk about the ideas behind it, whether or not we thought the character motivations were in line with how we feel real magicians are. All right, and we're going to be talking mostly in this video about the idea of magic as an art form. All right? Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, now, I've seen The Prestige a number of times. I just watched it recently because I'd been watching Penn Teller Fool Us, and it just put me in the mood for, a movie about magic. So I put in The Prestige since I have it on Blu-ray. And Alec just watched it for the first time, so we're going to start with his views. Alec, did you see it more than once?
No, I didn't get to see it more than once. Various things happen, but I wish I had. I enjoyed The Prestige. Now, to be fair, I don't have a wider understanding of magic. I have some experience because my dad was into it for a while. But after The Prestige, I don't think danger is the word. I guess I no longer see it as... I used to put it on the same level as, say, clowns. You know what I mean? Like basic street performance. But to say they're serious is an understatement.
Mm-hmm. The main theme of the movie, of course, being, and I didn't mean to get into themes right away, but this is a great jumping off point from what Alec just said. The main theme of the movie being that the act on stage is not the act. It's the life of it's the life of the magician off stage. That's the act. And that was a wonderfully played up theme here in The Prestige. And it was great to see the two opposing sides, and I think they are probably best represented by Penn and Teller because Christian Bale in this movie plays a character who is a fantastic magician as far as the art form goes and the technique, whereas Hugh Jackman in this movie plays a character that loves the spotlight, and he's an okay magician.
Huh.
But he needs the help from the experts to really do great tricks, but he's able to sell it so well that it's made him super successful.
Well, see, because that's interesting because you're seeing it more from the magic perspective. That is, the professional magician perspective. I thought the movie, in my opinion, the movie was more about becoming obsessed with something. Almost everything in the movie was an obsession. Either Christian Bale's obsession with the art form of magic. He wasn't just a fan of it. He
lived it, yes.
He lived it. He was obsessed with it. Hugh Jackman's obsession with revenge, not revenge, almost.
He completely abandons revenge. Oh, just to let people know, this is spoiler filled. It's been fairly spoiler free from right now, but just first spoiler alert, so you can turn off the video now if you haven't seen the movie. Toward the beginning, like within I think the first half hour, Christian Bale, through the risks that he takes for the art form, unintentionally kills Hugh Jackman's wife. And then throughout the movie, the two become so obsessed with one-upping each other that Hugh Jackman actually speaks the words, "I don't care about my wife," when originally that's why we sympathized with him and his quest for, I don't want to say revenge, but retribution against Christian Bale.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Revenge isn't quite right, but Hugh Jackman, in that movie, he seemed to be literally the definition. Like, if you look at the two, one of them was so obsessed with the art form that he literally let it, I don't want to say he let it destroy his life, Christian Bale I'm talking about, but at some point he was almost an extension of his profession. it almost was like it wasn't him. He was second to the profession, whereas Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, he wanted to, be the one on stage, and he wanted to bask in the spotlight. And that was hinted at really early on. You probably wouldn't catch this on the first viewing, but he says that he has to change his name so that his on-stage antics don't embarrass his family, which means he came from probably a very notable family, which makes him a person on the same lines as like Nero, who wanted Emperor of Rome, who wanted to, play fiddle and act, but that was seen as lower. It's what the slaves and the gypsies did and stuff like that.
Oh, see, I didn't get that. I thought what they were trying to show was that the magician, I'm sorry, the magic profession was simply more dangerous back then.
Oh, that
it
too.
was just safer to not, because, it was a lot easier to get away with a con back then, but the consequences were much more dire.
Definitely.
But I didn't think about that. I thought, because I know there was a general embarrassment if someone said they were going into something like magic.
Back then, yeah, definitely.
Unless they were really like it was a stark dichotomy. You were either famous, to people outside of it, or they don't remember you.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know the magic world back then was also so fickle. You imagine that in the past, without all the stimulation we have, people would be able to focus on one magician for longer. It seems like the moment someone else came and did a better trick,
they just
the competition.
The person, yeah,
exactly. The competition was devastating. Again, I had no idea the field of magic. I hadn't even dipped my toes in the whole subject, but
yeah. So part of that I found, I don't know if this was true or not, but it seemed the film was trying to communicate that everyone was doing magic. I believe they say it's 1899. It's over several years, because you see Christian Bale's daughter age to about 10.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was gonna mention that because using his daughter as a scale, because they were, in case if you haven't seen the film, you should see it and pause this and go watch it. But if you're not going to, understand that throughout at least half of the film, there's three, how do I say it? Three timelines are happening. One is the present, one seems to be Hugh Jackman reading his diary, and one is Christian Bale reading Hugh Jackman reading his diary.
Yeah.
It's perplexing, and a great way to show where you are without having to put, because you notice they never had to put text on the screen.
Yeah, I think they say, I know the year because I'm pretty sure they say it when they walk into Tesla's office.
Yes. What's interesting is that they use the daughter and some other characters, but mainly the daughter, to show what time they were in instantly. You instantly knew they were in the present.
Or the past, yeah.
Yeah, and those cues help, because this movie could be confusing if you're not paying attention.
Well, that's the thing about Nolan. He's always been the master, absolute, god of nonlinear storytelling. I don't know if you've ever seen Memento, but that was a movie told entirely from the perspective of someone who had no short-term memory, and backwards. So it was just...
I haven't seen it, but I heard it was good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I'm definitely going to see it now, because The Prestige, I got to say, I wasn't expecting that much, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Mm-hmm. Well, like
I'm sorry, you were saying something and I interrupted you.
Oh, no, it's fine. Like I was talking about Christian Bale's daughter in the movie at some point, and oh yeah, like you notice it's in 1899, and I don't know if this was true or not, but the film sent through the message through subtext that London was just packed with magicians. Like just like that was the place to be. That was like Broadway if you're a singer.
Yeah,
or Hollywood if you're an actor.
That actually is true. There was a short amount of time, and there was a lot of scamming, and there was a lot of the magicians looked down on, or I should say, the illusionist looked down on individuals that actually claimed to be magic. Believe it or not, there were even I don't know. It got complicated, but I only know that because of the other subject, that is, individuals actually claiming to be magic.
Yeah, which Houdini, the god of magicians, had a huge problem with, and he led like raids on these people claiming to be mystics or mind readers or whatever, and proved that they were just scamming people because he didn't have a problem with people paying money to see, a performance or something like that, but he hated someone paying money to be given, the hope that they can talk to their loved ones or
Yeah,
something terrible like that.
that is what Tim Minchin said it best. That is fundamentally sick.
Yeah, it is, because I mean,
To tell a crying mother that you can talk to who lost her child. I forget how he said it, but that he said it best. What Hugh Jackman seemed. I don't know. The movie did pull a fast one on me in terms of Hugh Jackman's character, because it almost seemed like the Christian Bale was the proverbial bad guy. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, you see him in front of,
But
a dead body at the beginning of the movie, right?
yeah, but Hugh Jackman, he had. I don't know whether to say he had no. He seemed rather quick to drown copies of himself. Like he didn't seem to. And what's worse is he says he never knew which one he would be. The problem with that is
he seemed to know. He just didn't. I thought that was just he didn't want to admit it to himself, so he could, I thought it was a justification, so he could feel better about it. Because when he says that nobody cares about the man in the box, he is just fucking heartbroken. And that's another thing that Nolan does just with absolute genius and precision, is those echoed lines throughout the movie, where something that was just slightly interesting or poetic in one scene becomes a major theme for the characters throughout the movie. All right, you mentioned the cloning, so let's get into it, because this is something that's really disputed with the movie. People call it a plot hole. They're like, well, what does it matter if Christian Bale gets executed at the end? There are probably a bunch of Christian Bale clones out there too. So let me.
What?
Yeah, like
how would that? Christian Bale didn't have
exactly
that machine. But I did think. Do you think they were suggesting maybe one more? I wouldn't suggest this if it weren't a movie about sleight of hand. So it seems like what they were suggesting, because I know they saw the people in the tank. That wasn't a big reveal. I figured that out.
The second that you saw him start dropping the tanks into that building.
I don't remember. I know I figured it out earlier, but a lot was going on in that movie. I can't really remember.
Yeah, that's why I said it would be good to watch it 2 times, but I understand life gets in the way.
Yeah, no, but don't get me wrong. I remember all the parts. I just don't remember the order.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a hard. But Christian Bale. I mean, damn it, Hugh Jackman's character. It seems like they pulled a fast one. I don't think he was ever. I don't know. It's hard to say. He seemed to give up his morals rather quickly, or rather, he never really had them.
He didn't, because he just became so committed to the act after, not the act at first. At first, it was all about getting vengeance on his wife, or on Christian Bale for the death of his wife, to me. And then when he got success from stealing someone's act like that, it seemed like he just didn't care anymore. Like, at first he's justified, because, guy killed his wife. All right, I guess you can steal his act. I mean, it's not like he did it on purpose. She obviously was saying that she could handle it, right?
Yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying. He didn't do anything wrong. Technically, she gave consent.
Yeah, she looked at him and was nodded her head, didn't she, when they were tying her up?
Yeah, that was actually her fault. What she should have done. One, I don't think he was ever in his right mind to make a decision like that. He seemed, and this comes from someone who actually dealt with personality issues. He seemed like, I mean, it's clear he had issues.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually her fault.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
You don't do something like one of a big rule in magic is you don't do something unprepared like that.
Yeah, and that's actually a good place to kind of briefly get on Penn and Teller, but we're going to talk more about the movie. Penn and Teller on several occasions have said they think it is morally wrong, morally reprehensible to do anything dangerous on the stage. They feel that if you're doing something dangerous on stage that could actually kill somebody, you are a hack. Like, they do things that look dangerous, but either
they're not really.
so
That's the
sure
point.
of their ability to do it, or they just will not, or it's not real, in any sense of the word. But the other point that I was trying to make, because we got to talk about the cloning, since this is kind of like the big issue in here. And when I did my review last time, the guy said he really hated it because it didn't make any sense. The thing is, you have to understand the reputation of Nikola Tesla, who was a real scientist and is responsible for, AC electricity, the thing we use today.
Alternating current,
Yeah. The reputation of Tesla was that he was a mad scientist. Like, the world thought he was insane. I was just listening to a story about him today on NPR, actually. His last surviving lab is finally getting turned into a museum. And they talk about how there used to be a tower behind it, about 120 feet tall, that shot lights and sparks up into the sky at night. And what the purpose of that tower was to wirelessly send pictures and sound.
Wow.
Yeah, so he invented television, or he was working on inventing television in the early 1900s, late 1800s.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible that he actually was crazy. I mean, sometimes...
No, like, he died in a hotel room hallucinating about pigeons. He had schizophrenia.
That's what I mean. It's not entirely everyone's fault.
Yeah, but the point about Tesla, and someone was like, well, it doesn't make any sense. How could he just give him this guy's name, and then the guy actually invents the thing that he needs? Like, well, that's the point, is Tesla's reputation, he knew would keep Hugh Jackman in Colorado. He couldn't just write down any name, because Hugh Jackman would have showed up and been like, well, this guy, Edison's brilliant, but he's not this brilliant. Whereas Tesla...
Yeah, no, exactly. He sent him to Tesla because he knew there was a good chance Tesla was going to
at least
play
keep
with
him occupied.
Yeah,
and
of course I think he thought Tesla was actually crazy. So I think what his plan was that he would go to Tesla and Tesla would act crazy and say, yes, of course I can teleport. I don't think he fathomed that he actually could.
Exactly, he did not. But the thing is, someone else is like, well, how do you accidentally create a cloning machine when you're trying to create a teleportation machine?
Oh, that's not that hard.
Exactly.
It's quantum coupling. The problem, that's actually the problem. Scientists think they know how to hypothetically copy something, but the other thing is still there.
Exactly. That's like, just to go into that a little more, the way that teleportation would have to work, in theory, at this current point in time, is that you would have to copy the atoms and move them somewhere else. But the original atoms are still there, so you need to destroy that thing. So he accidentally created a teleportation... Or no, he created a teleportation machine that just happened to produce clones.
Well, what ended up... Okay, here's what I think happened. I think Tesla tried to use quantum coupling. That is, the plot is he tried to use quantum coupling. The problem is the only way you would be able to transport something with quantum coupling is if you got all of the quarks to rotate, and I say rotate dubiously. That's just words we use to explain. That's just words we use. Just like, for instance, they think they might be able to control quarks that pop in and out of existence. You know, when you try to make a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that a way to do that would be something like a mirror rotating or turning on and off, but they use that as a metaphor because obviously
because the technical language is going to sound like blabble to anyone else. It's the principle of Star Trek. You say something complicated, then you use a metaphor to make it simpler. And of course, the great line from Futurama, like a balloon when something bad happened.
That happened. Yeah, I freaking love that. Yeah, that's right. But with rotations, basically the only way to do it would be to make sure that when one is rotating in, the other rotates out. unfortunately, you have to have all the quarks do that simultaneously. The problem is not the method. The problem is the same with time travel. We simply do not have the energy to do that.
Yeah.
The amount of
It would take a
the
couple small suns, right?
exactly
Yeah.
to make all the quarks. That's basically what you need, because quarks have more than one rotation on and
Exactly.
off. You just need to have them all do it at the same time. Nikola Tesla in the movie seems to have gotten half of it right, the duplication, but the simultaneous shifting, I don't even know how he would have done that back then. I don't know how he
Well,
did anything.
that's kind of the MacGuffin. I mean, Tesla, to be fair to the man, came up with shit that just was off the wall.
I'm not saying it's possible. It's really only been 100 years. We don't know.
Yeah. But
I
the
don't
point I
think he
wanted to
could have,
make real quick
but
is Tesla, like I said, his reputation was out there. He once claimed that he would give us world peace by blowing the Earth into two sections by placing explosives along a degree of latitude through the longitude's vertical, right?
yeah, longitude.
Okay, a degree of longitude across the Atlantic Ocean, so that the world would be separated and that we could no longer have war.
You think there's only two warring factions?
Well, no, it was during the escalation to World War One.
Oh, okay, I see what he's saying. I mean, I see he's still crazy,
yes.
but I see the twisted logic. Nikola Tesla, you ever get a little depressed and try to imagine what it would be like if they were born today? We would have been able to isolate what's wrong without doing what they used to do, where the person is no longer a genius because they numb him out of his mind and put him in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we could actually treat the mental illness of these great thinkers and still,
Well,
I don't know.
then, I mean, there's tons of stories of tragedy of great minds born in the wrong time, like Alan Turing, the guy that invented the idea of computers.
Oh yeah, and
he chemically castrated him and he committed suicide. And as much as I dislike Mac, I feel like I do owe them this much. They have enough respect for Alan Turing that their logo, the apple with one bite out of it, is a tribute to him because he injected an apple with cyanide and took one bite.
Wow, see that I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean
that isn't. I like that. I think I'm gonna buy a Mac. No,
I
mean, I might actually consider one.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: a Mac is cool if you also have a PC.
Yes, I agree because I'm on an iPad right now.
Yeah, exactly. You're on. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's fine because you simply cannot do all the things you can do with PC because of their, compatibility crap. But
yeah.
If you have both, I definitely suggest someone buying a Mac. Just might as well if you have the money to burn.
Yeah. Or if you can, get on a truck real quick and go. So that's the science, the crazy, that's the science of the movie is often criticized, and it's not completely out there. It is within the realm of believability if you know your history. To me at least.
Yeah, same here. In fact, his technology falls short in exactly the way it should fall short if he did discover that. If hypothetically he could actually copy things, it wouldn't be perfect like that. I don't see how he would have the technology, but that getting rid of the old thing without killing it is definitely where he would hit a dead end. Because he does not have the power of suns. They didn't have nuclear fusion back then, or we don't really have it now.
Actually, the more I watch this movie, the more Tesla becomes my favorite character in it, because he's the only person who is not morally reprehensible in this film.
What about Michael Caine?
I don't know. Michael Caine helped kidnap the second Christian Bale, and he also helped steal an act, which, while not as horrible as some of the other things, that's kind of low. That's like looked down upon. It's like when comedians steal jokes for magicians to steal an act.
Yeah, but I think this was a little different. He didn't he stole an act from somebody who was semi-responsible for the woman he watched drown.
True,
you know what
true.
I mean? It's not like he just stole from a random.
Yeah, Christian Bale
totally
also killed Michael Caine's career, but wrongdoing does not necessitate revenge.
Well, it doesn't necessitate revenge, nor does it mitigate it. But here's how I feel. If you're an adult and you take things to the next level, and the other adult is also consenting, the only issues you have from then on is any other people you harm.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, people don't like that idea because they think I'm suggesting that people should one up each other. No, what I'm suggesting is there is revenge. I don't really use the word as much because that's hard. Our entire ethical system is coercive. Justice itself, in some senses, could be considered revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
I give Michael Caine a complete pass. He was doing what he was doing in the context
true.
that he was in. I don't think he did anything wrong. I think he was trying to mitigate what he knew these two individuals would do to each other.
Yeah.
That is to say, he knew that guy was going to steal that act. In fact, I think he thought that Hugh Jackman
You're cutting in now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think he knew that if he didn't stay involved, that Hugh Jackman would have straight up killed at some point.
Sorry about that, guys. We had internet problems, but I'm going to let Alec continue on his tangent because here on Sip Part 2's channel, we embrace the tangent. T-shirt coming soon.
That's actually a T-shirt I would buy. But
I got bigger, maybe.
Yeah.
Spread the video, guys.
If you get to 1,000 subscribers, or wait, is this on your main channel?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get bigger, then we'll see about expanding the operation.
Awesome.
No, but what was I saying? Michael Caine
system.
Also, I do like that Michael Caine never would have helped him kill all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember, I don't know. Michael Caine seemed to be the only decent, well, not decent person. I feel sorry for Christian Bale's character because, again, he didn't seem like he could help it.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed a little bit more like the tragic genius type character. I don't know quite how to say it. Whereas Hugh Jackman seemed, God, Hugh Jackman reminded me of Moby Dick.
Oh God, that's a
not
good
Moby
reference.
Dick. Captain Ahab.
Yeah, Captain Ahab. Well, let me get into it a little bit. Michael Caine is probably the most justified person in what he does because he ends up playing both sides. He not only helps steal Christian Bale's act twice, but he also helps not as much, but at the very end, he helps Christian Bale get revenge or give Hugh Jackman what he deserves because Hugh Jackman not only kills all the copies of himself, but he lets Christian Bale's double die.
Oh, okay. Do you know, was that Christian Bale or was that oh no, that's right.
They're both.
There was no, yeah, they're both him.
Well, no,
God, that's such a perplexing concept.
Yeah, the idea was that they're brothers, and once they'd moved to London or whatever, because he obviously didn't have a London-born accent. He was somewhere in the country. It sounded like to me.
Yeah.
Because he used bloody a lot, and he had the more
Cockney,
rough country kind of accent.
Yeah.
Once they moved to London together, both of them were just so infatuated with magic that they agreed not to let anyone know that they both exist, and to just live one life, each living. And here's a line of Christian Bale's that I loved: "We each lived half a life. It was enough for us, but not for them." And with them, he's referencing the women in both of their lives, which it was so good because, like I said, a major theme of the movie, as far as the magic side of thing goes, was the idea of living the act, or living is the act, and stage is what you are. Stage is when you're on stage, you're not acting. You're there. You're part of it. This is you. And when you're off stage, you're living an act. And the quick example that they showed that did just a fantastic job of demonstrating that was the old Chinese magician, who made a fishbowl appear on a table. And Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman were challenged to figure out how he did this because it was a huge fishbowl. We're talking at least 6-7 gallons. And the way that they described it was he carried it around in between his knees every time he was out in public, full of water and the fish, so he could perform the act wherever he went. And when he's on stage is the only time he shows people that the fishbowl. So everyone thinks he's a cripple in everyday life, so because he walks like that. But really, the performance, it's all for the performance.
Yeah, that was. I had trouble believing that, but this is a movie where they can teleport, so. But
True enough, I don't know. Like, I didn't have trouble buying it because there's so many people that are just absolutely dedicated to the art form. Like,
yeah, no, I'm not saying that I had trouble buying that occurs.
oh, just that an old man could carry it like that.
No, more. How do I say it? I have trouble believing that people who live the act like that would not almost always be the most famous. Almost always be.
I think part of that, because you got to remember, once Christian Bale's career started taking off, he was doing very well. You know, he was buying houses and stuff. I think part of it was that the Chinaman was about as famous as a Chinaman in Britain can be.
Could be,
Because
yeah.
Michael Caine, or no, I believe Christian Bale has a line when Michael Caine challenges the two of them to go see the act. He says, "We can't afford to get in there." So he was obviously playing in a very big house. It's just the racism of the time, I felt, kind of.
Yeah, he's never going to be as famous.
As white men are.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about it. I don't like to feel like I'm reading too much into it, but this movie is very contextually based in the time period.
Oh, it's definitely a period piece.
Yeah.
Like even though it has, science fiction elements, it's definitely I was never taken out of the immersion. At no point did I see or hear anything that I thought was anachronistic except what was supposed to be anachronistic. And it wasn't even anachronistic. It kind of fit with the, it's the 1800s. It was sort of a steampunk Nikola Tesla, So even the sci-fi was still, appropriate.
Yeah. This is probably a good point to like finish up kind of on the Prestige and go more into magic as an art form. What I was so surprised about with this movie was, having watched it, I think 3 or 4 times now. Once again, just the other day, before I talked to you and invited you to the chat, Alec. What I was so impressed is how much of this movie stares you in the face, yet it's a mystery. Like, I don't know if you remember the opening segment, but I'm going to describe it, okay? The opening segment is a close-up on like 50 top hats lying in the dirt. And then you hear Christian Bale's voice say, "Are you watching closely?" And then it cuts to Michael Caine describing the art form of magic, like the process of magic, as he grabs a yellow parakeet. Okay? Then later in the movie, Christian Bale is assisting a magician who performs the illusion that you put a parakeet in a cage on a table, you put a sheet over the cage, and you smash your hand down and lift the sheet, and the table's just flat. There's no cage there anymore, no parakeet. And then the parakeet comes out of his hand or from behind his back or something, right?
Oh, wow. It's
So, and then, like,
metaphor.
Yeah. But, like, a kid sees this act and starts crying, and Christian Bale comes up to him. He's like, no, look, he's fine, he's okay. And the kid goes, "But where's his brother?" And Christian Bale goes, "You've got a smart one there." It stares you in the face. It, like, challenges you to figure it out before it happens.
And a few things I did, but I don't even remember the hats in the beginning. Damn it.
Yeah, it just...
and the parakeet itself is a metaphor for the... Oh, man. See, these are the types of movies I like.
Where you gotta think about it and go back and see it again, I know.
Yeah, I will be seeing that movie with my dad, and... Yeah, that was
You know, it's
I-
one of
I-
those things. Like I'd never realized it before watching this because it's been like about a year since I've seen the movie again, and I was just like, oh my god, it is right in front of your face the whole time. It's like, you see me? You see me? I bet you don't.
and I wonder if there were other cues that he was two different people.
There were a lot.
'Cause there were little awkward cues. There was a general awkwardness about that character, and that seems to be, now that I look back, that makes sense as to why. More than once, I'm not going to say it seemed like he was meeting the same person twice. What I'll say is this. He seemed to be awkward with individuals sometimes, and
Okay.
sometimes not.
I hadn't thought
You get
about
what I'm
that
saying?
part, but yeah, I kind of get what you're saying because he has interactions with characters sometimes, and he seems to be like forgetting conversations that they had earlier or something like that.
Exactly. Forgetting, or he'll, I don't want to, how do I say this? He reacts differently to the same types of, not advances, what the hell's the word? The way he's interacting with them, he's less consistent. I thought that was just because he's an eccentric.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of inconsistent reaction, that's more based on his mood than logic, I guess. But if he's two different people, man, it just,
Yeah, it works, doesn't
I
it?
need to watch that movie like twice more.
Yeah.
Because
Some of the lines that they definitely clue you in as to Christian Bale being two different people is the line that's echoed with Christian Bale's wife when she says, "Some days you mean that you love me, and some days you don't." And that was a clue. Another clue is Christian Bale is extremely angry in some scenes and very laid back in others, and that's a clue as to the two different personalities. Another one that's a little more subtle is how easygoing he is, or her daughter is, with Christian Bale in disguise, if that makes sense.
okay, I think I see what you're saying.
Like, he comes and he picks her up and takes her down the hallway, and I mean, sure, he'd basically be like an uncle to that girl, but still, I mean, we're talking about,
You know what? I noticed that too. They sort of focused on. Now, I already knew. I could tell. They weren't too vague that. That's not the word I'm. Basically, I could tell that guy was wearing a fake mustache.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to say it in a way, but it's not that deep. I could tell that he was actually wearing a fake. I just didn't know why.
Yeah, I mean, and then
I
you get
thought
the
he was like a
reveal.
spy for him or something.
Mhm.
But it's right in your face. That was the same actor.
Uh-huh.
So I should have been able to see it. It was right
You
there.
notice that they only do like 2 or 3 close-ups on that guy's face.
Yeah,
It's
and when they did, you could sort of tell the mustache and beard were fake. Like I could tell, but
at first
'cause-
you think
and
it's
I-
like, oh, that's kind of poor filmmaking, Christopher Nolan, and then you're like, oh,
no, what I thought
God!
was that they. What I thought was that guy would turn out to be the bad guy.
Mm.
Like there was something, he was working behind the scenes or something. But after a while, I completely forgot about that dude. Which, again, sleight of hand.
Mhm.
You misdirection. They don't show him again for a while, except in they always had something to distract you too.
Yeah, I mean, it's what was so well done about it is the movie is a magic trick in a way. You just get to see how it was done at the end, and it's so satisfying because of how well the setup. Like, the movie makes you admire the art form. If they'd revealed that Christian Bale was two different people, like, I don't know, halfway through the movie, where you missed all the obsession and you didn't get to relate to how angry he was that his livelihood was being stolen by this man from his past who he just wanted to forget about. Because, I mean, let's face it, he didn't want to be reminded every day that it's partially his fault someone died. And that's what Hugh Jackman did every time he was on stage or around him. That's why he sent him away to America. And he didn't want to, he felt morally compromised and he didn't want to ever, like, kill someone again. But
You know what's interesting? Now that I look at it, the angry brother might have been the one who kept. Oh man, that makes sense.
who kept the daughter? I was wondering
No.
which one it was that
No, not who kept the daughter. The one who kept instigating.
Yeah, I
It
think
might
so. I think so.
He might have actually just wanted to walk away from it. That would be why sometimes. That would be why his behavior was inconsistent, because he looks like he was in so much pain sometimes, and then little later he's doing something vindictive and silly that would jeopardize his career. Surely he knows that guy's going to retaliate.
Yeah.
Oh, also remember that she said he considered them even. And Hugh Jackman says, even? He killed my wife. He was perplexed. He's like, we were even. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's the brother who couldn't let it go.
Yeah,
or the brother. It's hard to say the brother. One of them could let it go. The other one couldn't.
Yeah, like you see that line toward the very end. One of the last scenes in Christian Bale's shop, or whatever you want to call it, workspace, where he says, okay, we're done with him. We've made enough money. We'll be fine. We're out. We can live our lives and not have to share one anymore, was basically what he was getting at. But you really got the feeling that the aggressive one was the one that went back to the theater and fell for Hugh Jackman's plot. That being said, this is such a morally ambiguous movie, because at the end you don't know who was really in the right, Hugh Jackman or Christian Bale. I mean, Hugh Jackman killed lots of people.
Oh no, Hugh Jackman was in the wrong. I mean, I understand why it's.
Well, let me make this point. It seems that, like, Hugh Jackman is definitely in the wrong, but we don't know if Christian Bale, the Christian Bale that died, was in the right. The Christian Bale that killed Hugh Jackman was fine. I believe that he was justified in killing Hugh Jackman because the man, killed or let his brother die when he could have saved him.
Well, the man killed his brother.
Yeah.
He's responsible. That would still be murder. Like, if they found out about it, he'd be tried for murder and conspiracy to murder and such.
Yeah. So, like, you don't know if the Christian Bale that hung was was deserving of it or not, because it seems like he was the one that was so reckless in letting him and letting his wife.
See, but I don't think he was deserving. Even if he was reckless, he didn't kill anyone. Like, he didn't strike me as someone who would ever go as far as killing Hugh Jackman.
This is true. Yeah, because he did try to save him at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, he tried to save him. He was freaking out. He would never have drowned another person after seeing her drown. It looked like he was horrified. At first he was perplexed, because he's like, why would he drown himself? Maybe he thought it was a trick, but after a while he was clearly horrified. He was watching this happen again, whereas Hugh Jackman, knowing the pain that this caused.
Well, no, he didn't, because Michael Caine lied to him and said that drowning was, like, very, very it was a pleasant way to die.
Yeah, but okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that someone saying that once, like, years ago at a funeral, now it did hit him that it was agony, but I'm pretty sure he knew. Remember, he tried to drown himself in the thing just to see how it felt.
True. I don't know. I'm just saying. It seemed like he, if not consciously, it seemed subconsciously that he chose drowning because he believed what Michael Caine said, and, like, maybe it's not cruel this way. Maybe it's humane this way.
He may have justified it. That may have been a post hoc justification.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't think he would have not done it, even if he had said it was agony. Of course, Michael Caine would never have just said it was agony at that guy's funeral. But if he had talked later, I really don't think it would have made a difference. Now,
I
it
don't know,
allowed
he probably would have chosen a different method to me.
Well, what are the? Wait, I think he chose the water method because it was convenient.
That too.
You couldn't just have, like, blades down there. Like, that's not something you can hide. Whereas the water trick,
be hidden. I don't know.
Not only could the tanks be hidden, but if someone comes by, you could claim that's like clearly it's not you. He was still alive, so he could always walk up to the tank not if they saw the guy flailing, but if they saw the body after the trick, he could obviously say, clearly I'm still here.
True.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I hadn't thought about
think
it as
did
pragmatically
for
as that.
Utilitarian. thing. I don't think he felt. Now, I'm not gonna say he didn't feel remorse, but he didn't seem too hesitant to do that. Like I could see if it was like a year after that happened, where he shot that other one. For that matter, well, no, they would both be him. There really is no difference. You know.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't just clone himself once. You know, like that's the feeling I got when the first time he saw the clone of himself, or the copy of himself, I should say, because clone's kind of a misnomer since they have the same memories. The first time he saw the copy of himself, he should have really, like, I feel like the one he shot was kind of like, no, we can work with this. We don't have to use the machine again.
Yeah, no, what I think the other one was saying, no, I am the original. I think that guy realized. I think what it is he realized that he was the man in the box in that second. He knew what was about to happen. Because if you actually listen to what he said, it sounds like he was saying.
Because the man in the box is the one that appears, whereas the one that stays. Because, like, you got to remember, when he's doing the trick on stage, there's a trap door underneath Tesla's machine that drops him into the tank, right? And then another one appears over in location X, right? So, I believe the one that appears is the copy, and the one that drops is the original.
Yeah. Oh, you think so?
Yeah, that's how it seemed to me, given the way that it's part of it was with the hats, because you got to remember his hat always stayed there. Like the person that goes into the machine seems to stay stationary, because otherwise it wouldn't really make sense for the machine to copy you and send you somewhere. Copy you.
What I thought was that I thought he simply moved himself forward.
In time?
No, not in time.
Oh.
Physically forward. I thought what he essentially did was, oh no, that doesn't make any sense. Oh crap, he was killing himself every time he did that trick.
It was suicide every time.
Oh, well then that changes it drastically.
Yeah. That shows you the depth of his not perception, of his obsession. Because he was willing to commit suicide, never knowing if Tesla's machine was going to work again. You know, it was the one of a kind. It could have broken down and he could have died, and the copy could be deformed or just not go through this time or whatever. He didn't know if this was going to be the end for him, because it seemed that the copies of himself still had the same memories. It's definitely a topic of debate. That's just the way I felt about it, because with the top hat, like, it wouldn't make sense to copy the top hat and leave the copy there while moving the original somewhere else.
Well, there really isn't an original or a copy. If he really is quantum coupling, it is the same thing.
Well, I'm talking about the one that's, by original, I mean the one that was put in the machine, the one that was produced.
The one that has his consciousness. I don't know what he meant by, I didn't know which one I was. It's like, dude, newsflash, you're the one who didn't disappear. You're the original. Every time he did that, he was committing suicide.
Yeah.
I thought the copy, that changes things. That changes things.
Well, the thing is, he knew he was always going to go back to being the man in the box. So he felt that dread of killing himself. And he had to remember what he did to all these other versions of himself.
No, he didn't do anything to them. There's a difference between killing yourself over and over again and the person who pops out on the other side is a new person, and killing a clone of yourself, which is not the same. If he didn't think it was going to be him, then he was perfectly okay with making a copy of himself and continuously killing that copy. That's not the same as suicide. He thought he would continue to live. But if he thought he was the one dying, that is to say, if he's the one standing over the trap door, then that's essentially suicide, in which case, believe it or not, that actually makes it ethical. If he knew that he was making a copy of himself, surely he didn't think that his consciousness would transfer to the new person. It didn't the first time.
Yeah, it did. The first time the guy says, no, wait. and it obviously, if it knows language and it
No, no,
knows.
no, no, no. That's not what I meant. No. What I mean is, let's say you made I transported to another place. The person who is created would be a new person. It doesn't matter whether we can talk about philosophy, who's the original. No, the person still standing there is the original. The person in the new place, by definition, has to be the copy.
Yeah, and I'm saying that the copy, it's copying everything, even his memories and his consciousness.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Mhm.
In which case, that is technically suicide. He's willing, because it's his conscious, I guess, perspective.
Mhm.
If I did that, if I was like, I'm gonna be the first person on Mars, but we have to transport me, and then this one dies. No, I'm not gonna be the first person on Mars. A new me, my perspective is gonna end. There'll be nothingness. Because if you left them both alive, surely you wouldn't say they're the same person. The very second they have one experience that the other one doesn't, they become two different people.
Agreed, but I mean, they're the same person on inception. To me, they're they have the same personality, the same memories. For all intents and
No,
purposes.
that's what I mean. They are, for all intents and purposes. What I'm trying to say is, one is murder and one is suicide.
Yeah, and
if you're the one who's willing, that actually, you just changed my perception of his character completely. That detail makes a huge difference.
It does, and I feel like it's still suicide. I don't feel is ethical. I'm not. What's the word? It's an ethical stance on right to it's the same ethical stance that if people want to inject themselves with heroin, fine, I don't care. That ethical stance, it's very pragmatic.
No, it's not pragmatic. It allows for people to see. The thing is otherwise you come to an infinite regress of who says.
Yeah, exactly. But the point I'm making is it's suicide. I'm not on that ethical line. I think suicide is wrong. I think I'm on the line that there's always another option.
Well, no, that's not what ethical means. That's what moral means. Ethics is,
well, no, it's a school of thought in ethics that holds this style of opinion is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a problem with that because it smacks of religious ethics. Yes, there's always a different way, but what if that person doesn't want that other way? We're saying I can't imagine an individual actually wanting to cease to exist.
I don't know. It's a very tricky ethical question. It's kept people, debating for decades and centuries.
So was whether there's such thing as magic. That doesn't impress me. I'm not really impressed with the fact that to say that
this I'm just saying this question is by far no means new. So we can.
It's no means new, but before secular ethics, there really was no way to ever figure it out because you essentially had people just competing to push their opinion. Without an ethics that allows for autonomy, you come to a situation in where you can always just you have a situation where you can always impose your ethics on someone else. Mm-hmm. You can always overwrite their personal autonomy.
Agreed. I mean, it's definitely a complicated area. The point I'm making is I feel that Hugh Jackman knew what he was doing was wrong because of the very first time he cloned himself, or copied himself, I'm sorry. The one that he kills definitely...
That is murder.
Yeah, definitely does not want to be killed. And what makes him think that he's... and once he's in the tank, he's not just sitting there. He's regretting the decision.
Well, no, that's a little different. That's a biological response. That's the realization that he's going to die. That's a little different. Now, the first thing I agree with you. The first act was clearly and unambiguously murder. Mm-hmm. He created a new person, then killed that person.
I don't know. I feel like if the person that went underneath the trap door could have the decision at that point to get out of the tank, they would have gotten out of the tank, and it would not have just been a biological response. I feel like if they'd been in the tank and had the opportunity to get out, like if Christian Bale had been able to break the glass, he would have immediately regretted the decision and said that no, this was terrible, this is morally wrong what I've been doing, because after he's revealed that the drowning is torture, that what he was doing was, all of this murder and stuff for a trick, once he realized his pragmatism had turned into this horrific standard of what he's willing to do.
Hold up. I'm a little confused about something. What do you mean by pragmatism?
The idea of, the ends justify the means kind of thing.
I don't know if pragmatism's the right word for that, but I think I know what you're trying to say.
Hold on, let me look up the word, because I do that occasionally where I confuse words.
I mean, pragmatism, it depends on the context, but in this context, I don't know if pragmatism, because pragmatism could simply mean the most practical way of doing something.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
Because there are better ways he could have done it than what he did. There are other ways. For instance, simply using that other person as a double.
All right, hold on. Let me look up philosophical pragmatism, because that's the way I'm... Yeah, that's an option that I was so amazed he never considered. He never thought, I'll use this guy.
That was ego. He couldn't.
He wanted to be the one on stage, and he just couldn't... Or he wanted to be the one that got the applause. He never... it never even crossed his mind. His ego was so huge, it never even crossed his mind to do what Christian Bale did and switch with the double each time.
Yeah, also the foolish thing, I never knew which one would be, whether I would be the man in the tank. It's like, newsflash, you're that guy. You're the one standing on the trapdoor.
Yeah.
Like, just because you have teleportation, it's working within the realm of physics. Supposedly, it doesn't break the laws of logic. It's not like I didn't quite understand what he meant, but I think again that was also his ego. He can't imagine that he wouldn't be the performer who steps out on the other side. So.
Let me read the definition that's on just Webster.com under the philosophy term. An American movement in philosophy founded by C.S. Pierce and William James and marked by the doctrines that the meaning of conceptions is to be sought in their practical bearings, that the function of thought is to guide action, and that truth is permanently to be tested by the practical consequences of belief. So that's probably not the exact word I want, but just the idea that the ends justified the means is what I was trying to get at with the word pragmatism. I apologize.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I'd say ruthlessness would probably fit better. Ruthless means you just go to your goal regardless of anything your way. Ruthless proficiency. Let's put it that way. Yeah. He was ruthlessly proficient at what he did, almost to the point of being willing to murder. And you know what? I think we can agree that it was almost murder and suicide at the same time. I can't use the normal ethical things because things are starting to get a little dubious.
Cause. It's an exceptional
cause. Yeah, it is an exceptional cause. I'm not willing to give him any type of pass by saying it's just suicide. But I am willing to say suicide is the first time was murder. So he's already branded a murderer. I judge this fictional character. So the first time was murder. The second time after that could be considered suicide if he really did understand that he's not going to be the one coming out on the other side. He's the one falling into that tank. By definition, it has to be him. He's... Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
So that's the question, because when you think about it, there was no way to really test which one was which.
Well, no, I mean, it could not have been the other way around because they were both there. Are we suggesting that he made a copy and then it switched them? Are we suggesting that when the machine did that?
I'm saying that, we've determined in our discussion that the copy is transported somewhere else, within, let's say, 100 yards of the machine, just for sake of argument, right? We've made that decision, but once you think about it, beyond my reasoning that it just seems like the copy would be moved and that the original would stay in place, there's no way to test it because, let's say with the hats, they ripped the one and then ran it through the machine, the copy would have a rip. So, like, if it was a person, how are they going to determine, since they have the same memories,
No,
which one?
okay. I see what you're saying. There would be no way to test it objectively. I was actually just saying that, in my opinion, okay, I think I understand what you're saying. How would they prove it from their perspective? Because from our perspective, we have third-person omniscience.
Yeah.
We know, due to the laws of physics, that if you make a copy of something, the original is by definition the original.
Yeah.
That is to say, we can tell which one's the original because the one, it stayed stationary.
Mhm.
The machine made a copy of it and then deposited that copy
Yeah,
a
exactly.
set amount of feet away, and he was able to calibrate it
Mhm.
to basically to where he was going to be. Because I'm pretty sure he may have tried it a few times and ended up in the rafters halfway, like that Star Trek episode.
Yeah, like, I
Where-
mean, they probably calibrated it with the cat as well, it occurs to me. Or with the top hats, to use an inanimate object. Because it seemed like it was just out of the line of sight in Tesla's, I don't know, yard? What would you call that area? The enclosed fence when the top hats are being transported?
his property.
Yeah.
I think there's, but it wasn't just out of sight. It was literally down a hill.
Yeah.
He was going. The only reason he noticed was because he noticed a cat that didn't it lead him to the hats. Is that what
no,
happened?
The cat that was copied, because it got shot with a bunch of electricity, freaked out and ran, and it got in a fight with the copy of itself.
Yes. Okay. That's what it was. Other than that, he wouldn't have seen it because it was like down a hill.
Yeah. So it was just out of.
There's even a possibility that the hats may have deposited a little further up and rolled down that hill.
Yeah, it's completely, it doesn't really matter, but it's
Yeah, it's an academic question at best.
All right.
Well,
so
not.
I feel like we've really gotten into prestige, and we've gotten into the moral and the ethical ambiguities of the characters here, and I feel like we did a really good job. But let's talk. We've talked a lot about the issues of the film, the themes of the film, but this is more about magic, and this podcast is more about magic than it is just the film. So let's move into magic as an art form, unless you have anything left to say on the prestige at this point in time.
I thought I had one more thing to say. Oh, one thing that I noticed is it seemed like Christian Bale at the end realized just how far his adversary was willing to go. Christian Bale was willing to go far enough
to cut off
he wasn't
fingers.
willing to lose his soul.
Yeah. I mean,
like I think Christian Bale was surprised at how far that guy went to lose his soul. Like,
I don't know. Christian Bale did go pretty far. He let a woman commit suicide.
Well, to say, I don't think he knew she was going to kill herself.
I don't know, man. She was like, he let her start becoming an alcoholic.
Well, that's different though. There's a big difference between, Well,
no, like all he had to do was tell her, "All right, you're my wife. I love you. Here's the secret, and you can never tell anyone, and you have to live and keep the secret. Otherwise, I can't tell you."
That was certainly wrong, but
I feel like
I can't imagine that he knew she was going to commit suicide.
I didn't feel like he knew she was going to commit suicide, but I felt like he knew she was going to do something drastic.
What I felt was like that, but maybe more long term. That is, he could see the effect on her, and he wasn't willing to change.
Mm-hmm.
Though, again, with him, I'm not sure he was capable of changing. Ultimately, she made the decision to commit suicide. She could have left him.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean,
you know what I'm saying? That was. Look, I don't know whether there's a possibility she was truly. Well, there's no possibility. She was in love with him, but I mean, maybe she was in love with him to the degree that she couldn't imagine living without him.
Yeah,
I think he knew that eventually. What I think he thought was that she's going to leave him. If I was in a situation where whatever my mental illness, I would assume that the person would eventually leave me. I wouldn't even fathom that anyone would kill themselves over that. You know what I mean? That could be where his limitation was. I think he just was so focused on the magic that his mistake wasn't a lack of ethics. It was a lack of foresight, a lack of perspective.
True.
Whereas Hugh Jackman, he was obsessed with the prestige with being the one on stage.
Mhm.
You're right. I see that is the difference. One, I don't know.
One
But
was morally
anyway, yeah,
compromised because he was committed to the art form his entire life, and the other was morally compromised because he wanted the glory.
yeah,
Is I think a good place to leave that.
yeah. Okay. Because
Just
I could go on that forever.
just to get into one last thing that just occurred to me because we never talked about it, and this is really actually a good place to branch off into magic. I don't know if this is still the technical language, but I really love the poetry of the opening monologue that Michael Caine has from the film, and it was every magic trick has 3 parts or acts. The pledge. The magician shows you something and tells you it's normal. He asks you to look at it and make sure it's normal. Now you say it is, but you know it's not. The second act is the turn. The magician does something. He makes something disappear. But to make something disappear is nothing. You've got to bring it back, which is where the third act comes in, the prestige. And it was poetic the way he described it. I really hope that is the language that's still used personally, just on a an aesthetic level,
No, well, yeah, no. My dad was getting into magic. He said that is,
Oh, good, awesome.
yeah, that is. At least that's what he told me. He's usually pretty reliable on that stuff. But yeah, that's what he said. He knew what that was. In fact, he saw it because he was into magic at the time.
All right.
But he said he didn't like it, but he also admitted, and this is true of him, he tends to his mood.
Yeah.
Not just that. Well, it's more his mood. If he's not in the mood for a movie like that,
Yeah. Like
But anyway, back to the magic thing. Sorry.
with any Christopher Nolan movie, I always tell you, make sure you're watching it and paying attention. You have to be in the mood for it, otherwise you will not enjoy it.
Yeah.
These movies are not Transformers. You don't get to watch them and turn your brain off and understand every plot detail or sit there and text on your fucking cell.
Okay, I didn't understand the plot details of Transformers because they didn't make any sense. I didn't see any but the first one because I refused to see them.
I was forced to watch the first one. But my point being is there is no plot in those movies, so you can follow it easily. It's giant robots fighting other giant robots. Ta-da.
What a twist! No.
But let's go into magic. Did you get a chance to watch any of Fool Us, which is really becoming my favorite show of that showcases magic? Very quickly, it's become that for me.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch full episodes, but I did see clips.
All right. Well, let's for our viewers, what I'm going to do is link an annotation here for you guys, and I'll put it at a part of the video that we need it to be. And Alec, I'll send you the link right there. And
Okay.
we're going to skip to about, I think, a minute in the video. You don't even have to watch it with audio. Okay, about 50 seconds, okay? Because it's Teller, which is genius. He's quiet. And the thing I like about Teller, so get it at 50 seconds and then pause it, okay?
Okay, I'm doing that now.
All right. The thing I like about Teller is before we were recording this, I was trying to think why he does the quiet thing. I mean, there's the obvious reasons, it makes their act unique. It sparks interest and becomes very easy to identify them. The guy that never talks is in their group, stuff like that. But the more I think about it, when I watch this, which is possibly one of the most beautiful magic tricks I've ever seen, it becomes apparent that he reminds me of watching Houdini, because you never saw. I tried to watch a couple clips of Houdini today. There aren't any clips where he's talking, and so you get that old world feel of just it was all about the show. You couldn't have what a lot of magicians do with the talking and the misdirection in that style. And we're going to go ahead and play this clip at 50 seconds, and we'll comment on it as it's going. And there's the annotation. Everybody go ahead and click it and mute it too. Are you playing it?
All right, I'm playing it now. You said no sound?
Yeah, no sound. You don't even need it.
Okay. Well, yeah, because it's Teller.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
And we don't need the crowd noise in the background of the video or anything like that, because it's just crowd reaction. All right, so here he goes. He's dipping his hands into this fishbowl, or this empty tank of water, and dropping coins into the fishbowl. And it seems like, a pretty atypical trick. I mean, it looks cool, and you're wondering how he does it because he has his sleeves rolled up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, and there's, if you listen to the crowd, they're kind of laughing at some of the awkwardness that he puts into it. And the woman here is, she's interested, but she's not really impressed.
She's not wowed.
Yeah, and it's still cool. It's something like that'd be great if like a 13-year-old were doing it. And Teller's been doing magic since he was like 9. But you continue to watch this, and it gets more impressive as it goes because now he's pulling stuff right out of her hands. He is touching her, and he's getting the coin from somewhere else. So there he goes, and
shaking him up.
Yeah, dumps him into his hand. And this is something that's become popular, as far as I know, recently. I could not imagine a magician from back in the day doing this. What Teller's about to do right here is he takes the coins out of the fishbowl and then drops them into the water, and nothing happens. So he's very confused, and the crowd is actually laughing at him at this point. So he's like, okay, fine, whatever. You want me to do something better? Fine. So he takes the remaining coins out of the bowl, and he blows on them, does the magic stuff, and has her participate because she looks bored. And then this happens.
Okay, hold up. Oh my god.
Right?
That's amazing! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just, like, 1,000 goldfish out of nowhere. Okay, like 100 goldfish out of nowhere.
Exactly. And I'm very impressed by that, because it's just, there's nowhere that I can think of to see them come from, because sleeves are up, there's no pipes or anything. They come from the top of the bowl, too. So they're obviously, not like being piped in from the bottom or something. And it's on film, but there's people right there.
Yeah, it's not just a film trick. It's a real...
And this is where I want to get into the art of magic, because that is visually stunning. I wish I could get, like if I ever get my own house and I get enough money to, I'm going to buy, those digital picture frames that, they have...
Change the picture.
Yeah. I want to buy a portrait-sized one of those and put, rotating pictures and video clips on it. And that is something, that trick right there would be something I would be wanting to have on the rotation, because it just looks stunning.
Yeah, it is. That was... I kind of wish I had watched more of that now.
Mm-hmm.
That was really amazing.
See, what I like about Fool Us, I was just talking about how it's becoming quickly my favorite magic show, is you get these, for those of you not familiar with it, Penn and Tellers have this show called Penn Teller Fool Us. And it unfortunately got canceled. It was playing over in Britain. And what would happen is they would come out on stage and sit down, a little closer than the rest of the audience, but they're still, in the bleachers, kind of, right? And magicians or magician teams or whatever will come out on stage and do a trick. And the intention of the trick is to fool Penn and Teller. Guys with, combined probably 30, 40 years. No, that's just what their career is. Combined, that's probably 50 to 60 years of magic experience. Try to fool them as to how they did that trick. And what I like about the show is they don't always reveal it. If they really hated the trick, they'll tell you exactly how it was done. They don't care, because if you're coming out and you're trying to sell, I have mystical powers, they will bust your ass. But the people come out and they do these illusions, and you get these magicians that you've never heard of, and they're bringing their A game.
It's not
not filler.
Yeah, no, it is. Oh, see, that's. Huh. I wonder if you could go back to watching regular magic tricks after that. It's like
That's
50 finales in a row.
Exactly. It's the end game. It's their best trick, and some of them aren't bringing their best, and you can tell. There was this French guy I was watching on it, and he was like an award-winning magician or something, And I mean, his act was interesting. It was fun, but it was nothing new. There was nothing impressive about it. It was a couple of card pulls and some weird body movement. I mean, it's nothing I could do, but it's something we're all familiar with.
Yeah, to take to Penn and Teller.
Yeah, and try to fool them, and like he'd won contests saying he was the best magician. So I'm like, who the hell is doing this contest?
Yeah. Huh? I don't know. Maybe he got cold feet. Maybe because magicians tend to be really possessive about their big trick. Maybe he genuinely didn't want to do it. Maybe he planned to do it when he got invited on, but just because what if they didn't like his trick?
That's true. I mean, you're being far more generous than I am there. I'll give you that. But my feeling was he was doing his best and it just was not good enough. And I'll see if I can find the act and link it to you later, or link it in the video here so people can judge for themselves. But regardless, so like what I like about the show is you get to see these magicians who have practiced the craft for decades and some years, and like there was a 10-year-old on there that they said he did a trick better than they've seen Lance Burton do. They knew how he did it, but the idea that a 10-year-old made it on this show.
Amazing.
And it was,
but like a lot of the best musicians start
really young,
ridiculously young. So
Teller,
like Teller himself. Yeah,
Teller started when he was 8. Penn when he was 12, I believe, because I watched a documentary with them today in preparation for this. Since when I bring the topic at hand, I like to be prepared for discussion.
Yeah, sorry about not knowing enough about magic in general.
Oh no, you're fine. You're doing great. I mean, we got a lot in on the prestige, and that went into the themes and the ethical dilemmas, which I love talking about. But like I said, I wanted to go into just the art form and our feelings and thoughts on it too. Penn and Teller are probably my favorite team because they have the stones to go out on stage and show you how they do a trick, and you still don't know what they're doing. Like they did the cup and balls with clear plastic cups.
I saw that. I could not.
You couldn't follow it.
That's an art form. Like, there's a difference between the craft, it would seem, and something like Penn and Teller. You can sort of tell when you look at them, not them specifically. If you look at different magicians,
do you need a couple names off the top of your head? Because I got a couple.
Who's the one who was in the who tried to stay in that bubble the longest?
Oh God, I had a joke about him too. I just can't remember his name. David Cameron. That's it.
I thought that was David Blaine.
Wait, yeah, you're right. I knew David.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been a while since we've heard from David Blaine. Should someone go check to see that he didn't die in one of those things?
Yeah, no, that's true. How is that a magic trick?
It's not. It's Houdini started doing the same thing in his career. He fully admitted that he wasn't doing anything of an illusion. This was just to prove his skill as an illusionist, that he is capable of these things. Like he did the one of his favorite things to do to advertise his act. And there's a sub-story to this story. One of his favorite things to do to advertise his act when he got into town is he'd go downtown on, like, middle of a Friday when everyone's leaving work, right? And he would have a crane hoist him up in the air by his ankles while wearing a straitjacket. And in front of all these people suspended in midair, he would wiggle his way out of the straitjacket, and then the crane would lower him down. And there's no, mystery or trickery to it.
No, there's no misdirection. That's just an amazing feat.
Yeah,
of skill. To me, that is still skill, though. That's sleight of hand, except his entire body.
Yeah.
Because that is part of magic, to be able to manipulate your body in ways that misdirect while at the same time being incredibly precise.
Exactly.
Whereas with David Blaine, I don't think that was the same. He didn't, get out of handcuffs in a bubble of water. He just sat there.
Yeah, just to, before we get too off topic from what I was talking about. So Houdini would do that to advertise that he was in town. Problem with that. Houdini's brother was also into magic. He was called Hardin. And when Houdini did that once, he had his people go out and say, "That's Hardin. That's Hardin up there. That's Hardin. He's in town tonight. You should go check out his show." And they did not talk for like 2 weeks.
I'm surprised they talked again. To be honest, that's what it asked. Like, was it on? It's messed up. It's like, yeah, I'll be there. I'll tell people about it. And it's like, what was that? No, I was just, smiling because I'm happy for you. It's like, nah, that seemed like an evil smile.
Yeah.
That's. But you
one of my
see,
favorite
like,
Houdini anecdotes. I agree with you. David Blaine isn't as impressive. I mean, yeah, he holds his breath underwater for like 8 minutes. Another David Blaine joke. Yeah, well, sadly he did not break the world record for holding his breath. On the positive side, we know exactly how long it takes to drown David Blaine.
This is true. But just like that, like the world record for holding your breath. What? Like, I wouldn't even have thought of that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, it's impressive for someone who does that. Like whoever set the record for holding his breath, I'm impressed with that guy because that's the thing he does.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
He holds his breath. That's his career as far as
exactly. Whereas David Blaine's just like, think I'll break this record. It's like, why?
Yeah.
That was my question. Why? Let's say he had succeeded. What would have been the headline? David Blaine holds his breath for an assload of time. Like, I don't understand what he was going for.
Yeah. The other guy that, like, I used to like him when I was, like, a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and I've slowly lost interest over the years because I don't like the way he sells himself, is Chris Angel.
I knew you were going to say
Like, he does that thing that, Penn and Teller and Houdini hated, where he's like, oh, I enter a trance and do these mystical things. And then there's other episodes where, like, I think he was in a cage being dragged behind a speedboat underwater. And he was in a straitjacket that had shackles on it. And deadbolts or locks or whatever. Padlocks, that's the word I want. And he escaped. That it was not an illusion because we know he has picks and stuff on his fingers. We're showing you this. We just want to prove that he can do this, and no one else can. I'm like, there's no illusion to it. There's no show there. You're
yeah.
in a...
Is he trying to pull a Houdini or something? Because
Houdini.
I don't know.
Can I tell another Houdini story?
Sure.
All right. There's a famous picture of Houdini with shackles all up and down his arms and shackles on his legs. And it was like the dirtiest trick in the world. Like, one of his big things is he would say, bring your own shackles and I will wear them. All right, I will let you shackle me and I will escape. And he'd escape inside something. But the thing is, when he was having people put on shackles, he'd let them, like, put the easy ones on his wrists. And then the more complicated ones, he'd go, oh, just go up the arm. Just go up the arm. So they'd go up the arm.
Oh, yeah, and then he could just slide it.
Yeah, and then he just stopped flexing when he got inside and just slides right off.
Oh, man. Nah, that's...
It was...
See,
it's the small things that are brilliant, really.
Yeah, that guy was a genius. Chris Angel, not so much.
I mean,
interesting.
A couple of his bits are okay, but I've really lost interest over the years.
Well, Chris Angel seems like he's more aiming for the teenage crowd.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. My girlfriend that I introduced her to him, she was like her first words were, "Oh, he's hot."
Exactly. He's for young, which I guess isn't that bad in and of itself. I don't like how he does the mystical crap. That even more shows me that he's for kids. The new age.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there.
Yeah, that bothers. I hate that crap.
Now, the guy that's kind of gone off radar, I don't know if he's retired or not, is David Copperfield. Like, have you heard anything from this guy in, like, the last, 4 or 5 years?
The way people talk about him, it seems like he's actually magic. But, because just, like, he's so freaking mysterious, but...
Like, he's they had an auction of Houdini's stuff a couple years ago, which is messed up because he clearly states in his will that he wanted all of it destroyed after he died. But anyway, they had an auction of a lot of his stuff, and David Copperfield ended up buying a lot of it. And the only other time I've seen him since I watched that auction was he had a cameo in an episode of Scrubs. Like, I remember he was really big in the 90s. He's the one that, he made the Statue of Liberty disappear.
Yeah.
With Photoshop.
Really?
Well, no, it's just like that was the very first, like that was when technology was, right on the cusp of removing things and people weren't really used to catching it, especially on television.
So how did he make it disappear? Was it just a video thing?
Yeah, it was video of him on the island facing the Statue of Liberty.
I thought he did that without the video. That is to say, I thought the people there were also fooled.
No, like big stunts like that, they're constantly paying actors for it.
Because I thought what they did was they somehow... Because I thought they showed how he did that, and he actually...
No, as far as I know, it was like the first big photo manipulation on television, and they just, like I could remove the Statue of Liberty from...
Oh yeah, no, that's not a problem. I just thought that I thought he did that in front of people. Like, I thought that that's why he was amazing, because other people were doing it fake, whereas he was able to fool... Of course, he had to choose where they sit, basically. Like, they couldn't walk around him.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know what I mean? But he would set up a stage and actually fool a small group of people.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was. But if it's just Photoshop, then that's
I believe it was, because I can't think of any other way to do that. It's a statue, and they constantly talk about how all the... Like, I've watched those shows, like the Magic Tricks Revealed shows where the magician wears a mask, and I'm pretty sure Chris Angel was one of them, because the guy had that long punk rock hair.
Yeah. Hold on, I want to look up the statue thing.
That's what I'm doing, too.
Yeah, because I could have sworn someone was able to fool a group of people by misdirecting. Not so much... Basically, they ended up looking at the wrong section of ocean or something like that.
I mean, that's certainly impossible, too. It just seems incredibly difficult, if you ask.
Yeah, no, it was definitely difficult, and it required a lot of tweaking, we'll say. They had to be in the right place.
Well, I remember seeing it, and it wasn't like the big reveal. It was how he started a special on television. So I'm like, probably photo manipulation if it was just the throwaway intro. To me, at least.
Yeah.
As you no doubt know, David Copperfield is a master illusionist. Magic tricks are just that, tricks. However, there is one I just don't understand. David apparently made several hundred people not see the Statue of Liberty. How the heck did he do that? He obviously did not make it disappear. It was, is, and always has been there. But why couldn't the crowd and TV see it? Thanks, O masterful knowing one. Via the internet. Magicians are a snotty lot. Imagine not wanting to reveal their secrets to their loyal fans. How dare they? Of course, being one of Selig's loyal followers, I tried the David Copperfield website. After going through the introductory screens and being bombarded with far too many images of a mysterious David, I saw a few GIFs of this illusion. Did he spill any secrets? Nope. I tried next the amazing Ralph, who promised to reveal the secrets of his magical feat. His explanation? David palmed the Statue of Liberty. Okay, Ralph, thanks a lot. Finally, racking my brain for the answer came to me. Not in the night, not in an auroral flash, but on my bookshelf. Summoning all the skills Cecil had taught me, I reached out and grabbed my copy of William Poundstone's Bigger Secrets. Way dustier, nowhere near as dog-eared as my set of the straight dope books, I nevertheless looked through the crisp pages, and bingo, there was the answer. Poundstone wrote 6 pages on this trick and included a nifty illustration, but I'll just give you the basic summary. Copperfield had a setup of 2 towers on a stage supporting an arch to hold the huge curtain that would be used to conceal the statue. The TV cameras in the live audience only saw the monument through that arch. When the curtains closed, David waxed poetic while the stage was, slowly and impeccably turned. When the curtains opened, the statue was hidden behind one of the towers, and the audience was looking out to see. Viola. The Statue of Liberty has disappeared. Even if the stage hadn't completely hidden the statue, the towers were so brightly lit that the audience would be night blinded. Copperfield had also set up 2 rings of lights, one around Liberty and another set up somewhere else. When the trick happened, his assistant simply turned off the lights around the statue and turned on the other set of the helicopters to circle around. Oh, the radar blip. It was simply video game animation. There we go. All right, so I was wrong. It was not photo manipulation, but it was actually something much simpler.
Yeah.
Light.
Well, to me, it was much more impressive. If it's just photo manipulation, to me, that's just lying. But he did the same thing any other magician does.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm impressed by
that.
that.
I was impressed by that. That illusion officially impresses the shit out of me. Even though it's just misdirection, that's what he imperceptibly rotated an entire stage of people.
True. I don't know. That is
takes...
pretty impressive. I will give you that. Like I said, I thought it was such a throwaway that it just seemed like the logical thing to do would be, photo and visual manipulation. Because, like I said, it was just an intro, and everybody knew it was not going to go away. So, I honestly did think it was very simplistic, and I have a little more respect for him. Like I said, I haven't heard from the dude in years. I guess he retired, or maybe he's out in Vegas just lying low.
Well, maybe he did retire. I mean, didn't he make an ass load of money?
Oh, definitely. I remember he did. Like, how many magicians get TV specials on broadcast? That should be your answer right now. I mean, sure, HBO and Showtime are one thing, but broadcast networks? Wow. In the 90s, before they were dying?
Yeah. Wait, before what?
Before broadcast television started to die.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that's impressive. So maybe he just did, at some point, people are going to start saying, you're getting old, or rather you're getting predictable. Maybe that's what he wanted to avoid.
True, but I mean...
How do you top making the Statue of Liberty disappear?
True.
As a person, like as an individual, I'm sure other people can top that, but how does he top that? It was probably a good time to step down and go sleep on his pile of money.
Like I said, I was watching a documentary with Penn and Teller, and they were going around Egypt, trying to talk to street magicians, because that's where a lot of them used to be about 60, 70 years ago. But apparently the art form has just died out in the country, and they had a hard time finding many people. And the people they found, they were okay, but they weren't doing anything special or really, unique to the region, so they were really disappointed. But the funny shit they did, they were at the pyramids, they visited them, and they took a red sheet and started waving it in front of the pyramids, and the camera zooms into the red sheet and then zooms out, and they move the sheet, and the pyramids aren't there. I'm like, oh, I wonder how they did that. They did it like...
Hey, that's high tech in Egypt.
No, I'm just kidding. So tongue-in-cheek that it was just brilliant. Like, they did it again during the outro credits. This time, they made one of the pyramids float, and it was so obviously CGI. I cracked up.
It's just... And some people were like, "Oh my god," that's what's funny. Like they wouldn't have done that in any serious capacity if they didn't think they were getting some people. So
yeah, no, they didn't do it seriously at all. They did it totally tongue in cheek, and that was what was great about it.
Oh, okay.
They just look at that, whoa. It was very funny to watch. But what I was surprised about, like I said, they did Penn and Teller probably are my favorites because they're so dedicated to the art form, and they're so just, they don't use any of the gimmicks. They tell you what we're doing is misdirection. What we're doing is not that impressive once you have the training. Stuff like that. Like one of the episodes of Fool Us, Penn did a memorization act. And that's where they've been around since vaudeville, but they've really fallen out of style. Like the traditional memorization act was a person on vaudeville would write down numbers in the sequence that they were shouted out from the crowd just a few minutes ago while reciting Shakespeare soliloquies. So
Okay.
that's a memorization act. It's just, commitment mentally. But Penn made the point, when you add a little bit of danger to an act, though, that really spices things up. So he got a nail gun, and he starts putting them into a board, and he shows that how nail guns are loaded with these strips of nails. And he said, now normally these would be full of nails, but me, I've removed some of them. Now it's not that hard to trick. All I have to do is memorize the sequence of nails, and I'll be fine. So he'd plug a few in the board, then put the gun to his hand and trigger, and then plug a few in the board and pull the trigger. And then he started doing it really fast, which was impressive. And he goes, it's just like tightrope walking. It's the same trick at 2 feet as it is at 200 feet. But the element of danger really does change things.
This is true.
And then,
that makes sense.
The funniest part of the act, though, he takes the nail gun, puts a nail in, then puts it down again and pulls the trigger, and no nail. And he's like, he just stops. And he looks at Teller, and Teller just, shrugs his shoulders.
Oh.
And he's like, so he recites, under his breath, he goes through the sequence of nails out loud and is able to finish the act like he actually screwed up,
Yeah, no, that's another thing. Penn and Teller deftly weave humor into their act. It's
less so
I don't want to say it's
people I've seen, but they do a really they're kind of the middlemen in between comedy and magic, or at least the exemplary middleman, if you ask me. Because there are a lot of magicians that do comedy in their act, and at a certain point it just becomes more comedy than it is magic. Today I was watching The Amazing Jonathan, who was on Netflix, and it was actually a Comedy Central Presents show.
Was that with the assistant was really dumb? Yeah, I mean, that was funny.
The act was hilarious, but you watch it, and I'm watching it for the magic. He does 3-4 tricks the entire half hour.
Oh yeah, if you're watching it for magic, that's different. Because it was on Comedy Central. The magic was an extension, huh?
That's the thing is, I remembered it was a magic and comedy show, so I was like, okay, well I'll watch this, just because apparently Netflix only has 2 shows about magic on there, which is disappointing.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking for magic, and those were the only 2 I could find: the Penn and Teller documentary and this show of The Amazing Jonathan. I mean, no lie, he was good, he was funny, but it was really disappointing trying to watch it for magic because he only did 4 or 5 tricks. So there's that definite line of where does the magician become a comedian, and the other way around.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think. Well, I don't want to change the subject too much, but I think the reason I didn't get into magic was I always. This is hard to understand. This is hard to explain. The wow factor that other people got, it didn't get me as easily, I guess, because there was no part of me that
was amazed by it, that didn't understand that it wasn't fake.
Exactly. No part, and I kind of wish that wasn't the case. I kind of wish I was a little bit more interested in mystery. To me, Nikola Tesla's thing, and I don't want to go back to the movie, but if I found out that something was real, some magic trick was real, that is the most interesting effing thing ever. To me, I would spend my whole life just studying Tesla's machine. There would be nothing else for me. That would be it. Game over. That's the thing I do now. If it turned out Tesla actually had a transportation machine, the magic part of it, I couldn't even fathom using Tesla's machine to do a magic trick.
That's what was so impressive about it. Tesla was destroy this machine. And because he saw what Edison was doing, and he knew that if he revealed this to the world, there would be, riots. He had that line in the movie about, the first time I changed the world, they applauded me. The second time I tried to change the world, I was asked to retire. And that's the thing, this would have done it a third or a fourth time for Tesla. And he knew that people would riot and that he would be lynched, and that anyone associated with it would be treated like witches at Salem.
I don't know. I don't know if it's to that degree.
Mm.
I don't think that would have happened. It depends on what he did, when, where, why, and how. It depends on how he went about it. Unfortunately, if we're to believe he wasn't crazy in that situation, so that really doesn't apply. But it's possible he could have been lynched, but so could Edison when he invented it. Well, when he discovered electricity, I guess.
Nah, he didn't discover electricity. He just had the first successful light bulb, and then he stole patents from everybody that he hired. Edison.
Did he now? What an ass!
No. Edison, Tesla worked for Edison, and Edison was working on DC. Tesla was working on AC electricity, right? And Edison told Tesla that he would give him $1 million if he could fix the problems that the DC current was having. And Tesla did, and then asked for his $1 million. And Edison said, "Tesla, you really need to try to understand humor over here in America."
He didn't Was it really a joke?
Probably not. Like, he probably said it as a joke, but then, like, even if it was, that's not something you say to somebody like Tesla. Tesla was not to be trifled with. You know, we're talking about the man that, like, Tesla. I wish he'd been the first to send radio signals across the transatlantic divide, because once he lost that, once he was not the first one to send a radio signal across the ocean, all his funding dropped, and that began the process of him, going crazy and being a pariah. And if Tesla had been able to succeed and had been able to get funding from a philanthropist, someone that didn't need to make any more money, someone that was already ridiculously rich, instead of J.P. Morgan, yes, J.P. Morgan Chase, instead of getting funding from J.P. Morgan, the world would have free energy right now. Tesla wanted to make electricity free for everyone. But
yeah, I mean, that's possible, but I don't think that actually would have occurred. There simply was no protection for the public back then. It would have quickly been dominated. I mean,
I'm just saying, like,
people talk
the machine that he was working on, I believe it wasn't at the North Pole, but it was up north, snow all over the place kind of area, the tundra. And the machine that he built, if it would have been finished, the machine he was working on would have been able to supply the entire world with electricity.
Well, hold up. We got to be careful now about simply believing things. Of course, anyone can start on a machine like that, but...
Well, no, I mean, I believe in Tesla, and I believe if he had the funding to finish it, it would have... I'll give you that. It is a thin line, but I believe if he'd continued to work on it, that would have been his crowning achievement, and he would have supplied energy for...
Okay, maybe, but the problem I have with that is something like that is not just a matter of working on it. It's not like he just had to keep putting things together until he got it right. In order to create something like that, you need to... Like, I can't even imagine what you would need. It's not a matter of it like that. It's not a matter of like was in that movie where you can just build a machine like that.
True.
They were back then. They were missing entire fields of science.
I'll give you that. That is a fair.
So I really now do I think if he would have been seen as not a pariah but as a genius like Darwin later on, or like Thomas Edison, yeah, I definitely think he would have moved things towards that. He might have even succeeded in something like that, but the supplying energy to the whole world, that we don't even know if that's possible, let alone whether Tesla himself could have built that machine alone without the help of the greatest minds in the world along with him.
From what I've read is Morgan saw what Tesla's end game was, and that was Tesla's goal, and he cut his funding.
Okay.
Because he
like, I can believe that was his goal, but
yeah. Well, that's the thing, is he believed, as I believe, that Tesla would have succeeded if the funding continued, and no capitalist wants things to be free like that.
Well, I have okay. I don't know. I'm much more dubious about that. I doubt that it's possible to do what he's describing. But you got to remember that was back when there was such an extreme dichotomy between individuals who were arrogant enough to believe that everything that ever was invented had been.
True.
Another thing I forget who said it, was like, science at this point was just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting your I's. Like, pretty much they had solved everything and there's just a few things left.
Yeah, I gotcha.
On the other hand, there were people who were out of their mind, that not out of their mind, it's just once they saw what science can do, they believed that there really was no limit. For instance, they would get focused on one type of thing and be completely myopic. They wouldn't say. There were scientists who could not accept that you can't use just the electricity to bring people back to life.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? That was back in the days where they actually had mad scientists.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, I may be embellishing it a little too much, but
No, I don't think you're embellishing. What I think is, I'm sure everyone who said that believed it, but I don't think the laws of physics actually allow for him to have done it without more than one branch of science. He would have to be a chemist. He would have to be a quantum physicist. All of these things. That I literally just think there physically was not the resources he would have needed. It's not just about electricity. He could have been.
Well, the thing is, Tesla was the Renaissance man of science. He worked in chemistry and biology to a degree, and all.
Yeah.
And as many fields as were existent, he at least had a hand in a pot, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I don't think capitalism is the reason we don't have infinite free energy, like comic book level technology. I really don't think. Now, surely that might have influenced it, but there are multiple reasons why Tesla didn't succeed, not the least being mental illness. He couldn't handle
the disappointment and the stress.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you.
If he would have worked hard, he would have. I think if Tesla wasn't mentally ill, whatever he would have created, he would have done it anyway. He would have kept trying. Scientists lose funding all the time. Scientists have their ideas stolen. In fact, there are many famous scientists who get their stuff stolen and still become famous after that.
Oh yeah. What's the name of the Indian scientist that first developed the theory of not plate tectonics? It's something to do with astronomy. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it's something to do with astronomy. There's an Indian scientist crossing the boat, or back when they're still using boats to cross. There's an Indian scientist on the boat from India to either England or Europe, and that's a very long trip. Takes a couple weeks or a couple months. And during that time, he worked out a theory, and it was something to do with astronomy. And I hate that I can't think of the name or what it was, but he worked out a theory and got it published in very no name kind of journal, nothing special. And then a couple months later, a white man published it in a big name journal. And it
was it Redshift? No, that was much late. That was much later. I'm trying to think, because I vaguely remember what you're talking about. Now I can't remember I can't quite remember what it was. But yeah, we get the.
Yeah, we get the point. And let's use this to transition back to magic a little bit. We can see here that when you talk about whether or not it's plagiarism to steal an act, or if you're just stealing it, or if you're improving it, is the question. Because everyone does card tricks, everyone does the cup and balls, but at what point is it theft, and at what point is it you putting your own spin on it?
Well, see, this is hard for me to answer. The only thing I could compare it to would be like something like comedy. With comedy, most jokes are simply observations. If we're talking about classical jokes, it's really hard to come up with a new one. That is, even if you think you've come up with a new one, someone's done that particular spin.
True.
Essentially, the person who comes up with it first is doomed to watch the second person succeed. That's basically the way things tend to be in our world. The exception is recently, where now you can actually go on the internet and do it yourself.
True.
But before that, there really wasn't, you know, there's a concept called idea ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Without idea ownership, for instance, there were vending machines in ancient Rome. I'm going to repeat that. Romans created a fountain where when you put a coin in, now the people thought they were offering it to the gods, the water would dispense. They had machines, rare, but because there was no concept of idea ownership, scientists would simply hide their ideas. There was no reason to pass them on to people because they wouldn't get credit for it. Could you imagine? There was an ancient computer in Rome. There was not a computer as in a monitor, but a basic binary computing machine. But without idea ownership, there was no reason for anyone to keep pushing past.
Oh, another good example of that was they looked through some of the rare scrolls that were saved from the Great Library of Alexandria, and they found a blueprint for steam power.
Yes. Yeah. Also, ancient batteries were found
in Iraq.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we don't know whether they used those batteries for anything. We don't know what was going on. What most likely could be the case is in certain circumstances they noticed a wire can actually glow. Perhaps they created a rudimentary light bulb or something. I don't know. I can't even imagine what you would use big like alcohol. Well, essentially, it's a battery. It's a big ass battery.
Yeah, it was like a pot
middle
with
of
acid in it or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, that is just what a battery. We just have smaller versions of that compacted a lot better. That's why battery acid leaks out. It literally is the same exact method.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have improved it, but it's really just,
We've infinitely improved it.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Well, so the idea of the idea of idea ownership, just to get this as convoluted as possible, is interesting, but I think there's a line between seeing someone do an act and saying I'm gonna do that, and seeing someone do an act and like I can think of a way to do that better, are two different things to me.
yeah,
One
but
is directly plagiarism, and one is improving an art form to me.
yeah, I mean, this is where my limit of understanding of magic goes, because to me, you have to do the first thing before you can do the second. You have to first say, I'm going to do that. And you have to have a deep understanding of that thing before you can add or take away anything from it. Because otherwise, the person who did the original trick, if it's really that easy, he would have just perhaps thought of it. Though everyone's mind works different.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about magic tricks because I've only seen a few and then many variations on those tricks.
Mm-hmm. See, the way I like there's a kind of an excuse here that a lot of magicians will use that kind of blurs this line, and I've heard even Penn and Teller use it. Is they say, "Now we saw a magician do X, Y, Z, and we have a version of this trick ourselves that we'd like to show you." I think that makes it okay, but I think when you market it as this is the only time you'll ever see this, or this is the most original trick,
yeah.
like that's clearly
That's
on the wrong
blatantly
side.
plagiarism.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
even if you're improving it in some way, I feel like if you're claiming it completely as your own and you're not saying, I've seen this done similarly, but here's my version.
I would say it would depend on the trick. If it's a trick that's already classic, if you're doing a card trick, you don't have to say,
Yeah,
I've
obviously.
seen someone do it. No, it's a card trick. Pretty much anything that's ever been. I'm not saying you can't do new stuff with cards, but I don't know.
I don't know if you saw this bit from Fool Us. It's probably actually my favorite of the competitors, even though he didn't win.
Yeah.
Did you see Piff the Magic Dragon perform?
No, I didn't.
Okay, this one I loved because he comes on stage and he's wearing like imagine you go out at Halloween and you go to one of those shitty stores that opens up and you buy the shittiest looking dragon costume you can for like $5. He's wearing that on stage while holding a little tiny chihuahua. All right? And
Okay.
no, and he opens this wooden box, and he's got this "I'm so cool" attitude. And he's like the wooden box opens, and the little stand flips out from the bottom of it, and he props it up, and he's like 500 pounds. And then he puts the dog inside the box, and he's like 300 pounds. And he's like shoot, and he sneezes, but a little bit of like fire comes out, and he goes 75 pounds. And he calls this woman up on stage, and she's like, he gives her, goes through a deck of cards, and he goes, pick a card, any card, doesn't matter which. And she picks one, and he's like, okay, it doesn't matter if I say it here. Take this pen and sign the card with your name. What's your name? She goes, Stacy. So she signs Stacy on the top of the card. And then he tells her to go take a seat. So he's holding the card, and it's it's the Jack of Hearts, Jack of Diamonds. He's holding the card, and he goes, now, ladies and gentlemen, before I came out here on stage tonight, I made a prediction, and that prediction was, and this giant like banner and like painted to look like a card comes down from the ceiling, and it's the 9 of diamonds, and the audience just starts laughing, and he goes, so obviously Stacy was wrong.
Oh.
It was really funny. So then he starts taking the card, and he bends it vertically, then bends it back, then bends it horizontally, then bends it back, and faces the back toward the audience, right? And then he takes his thumb and he wipes his thumb across part of it, and then he turns it to face the audience. Part of it, like a quarter of it, is the 9 of diamonds, and then he turns it back around again and he wipes another section off, and another quarter of it is the 9 of diamonds. And her signature is still on there, but it's on a section that's still the Jack. So he wipes one more section off, and there's 3/4 of it, 9 of diamonds. Then he turns around one last time, wipes it off, 9 of diamonds with her signature on it.
Wow.
It was like so cool.
That's awesome.
And to that point, Penn Teller said, we've never seen a signed card turn into another signed card.
Signed card. That's amazing.
Yeah. And the guy's act.
I want to see that one.
Yeah, the guy's act is just so funny. Like I subscribe to his YouTube channel, which is something else I like about Fool Us. The magicians are given the right to post the clips online, so a lot of the clips you'll find are actually posted by the people performing in them.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
So you get to see a lot of cool things like that, and you get, if you want to, you can subscribe to some of these people on YouTube.
You know, I get a little worried. How do I say this? I don't want to do the same thing with magic that some people did with science, thinking that everything that's been done has been done. But I have trouble thinking of how many more tricks can possibly be done.
Well, people have been saying that ever since Houdini died. People said there'll never be anyone greater. And that's
true. I know,
true.
And that's so not true.
I don't know, man. I don't know if there's going to be anyone who's ever going to be better at magic, but I think there are people today and will be people tomorrow who are doing things with magic that Houdini wouldn't even know how to do or be able to think of.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's always going to be more stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I'll start paying more attention to magic.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess I was always worried that if I saw too many of them, it would be like a lot of reviewers are with movies. They just become really jaded.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'm definitely gonna pay more. I'm definitely gonna watch the Penn and Teller movie now, or not movie. Show.
Yeah.
The Fool Us is what it's called.
Yeah, Fool Us. Which is just I'm so disappointed that show got canceled over in Britain, and I hope that someone, they can convince the studio to make an American version. Because, God, that'd be awesome.
I mean, I guess it's possible. Because bullshit is successful.
Yeah, but that show's okay. I mean, I've watched it, it's entertaining, but I don't like that it has almost nothing to do with magic except for some of the transitions between topics,
Yeah, well, I was never into magic.
Yeah, you were never into it for the magic.
So I was actually into it for the political and science.
True,
and
I mean, I enjoyed
those issues themselves are why I paid attention to it,
Yeah, and I greatly enjoyed that show, but still, it always kind of bugged me that these guys are like, but you're magicians. Do cool things.
Yeah, I did kind of wish they do a little bit more of that. Like there was more opportunity to do things. They did visual things a few times, like visual gags
Yeah.
that weren't magic. They weren't tricks or anything. They were just kind of funny. They could have used that opportunity to do some magic.
Mhm. Now they had another
Um,
show that I don't think lasted. It wasn't called Bullshit, but it was called like it was one of those like quiz shows kinda. And what it
uh,
was like fake or it was kind of like Ripley's Believe It or Not. But instead of all of it being quote unquote real, they'd like make up stories. Like I don't know if you've ever seen
is
Truth or
that
Fail.
true? Yeah, I think I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's
That was their show. Were they in it?
no Truth or Fail is just on YouTube. This was a show actually on television based on the same
No, no, no.
concept.
That's what I'm saying. Were they in this show?
Yeah, they were in
On
it. They were like the hosts.
Okay, then no, I haven't. What did I see? Oh no, I saw something on the Sci-Fi channel called Fact or Fiction,
Yeah, it was something like
where
that.
it would tell like ghosts or supernatural. I love when they said some stuff was fact. It's like, okay, no one in that story is dead. They know it's checkable, right? It's like I don't under. What do you mean? Like one time, this guy, they said this guy, you know, the phantom limb thing where they can still feel their limb.
Yeah.
Supposedly is someone falling, and he actually caught him with the missing arm. And I'm like,
What? Was that one
what?
said as fact?
Is he dead? Is he still alive? Like, does he still have his magic? What's that guy from? You ever seen the Venture Brothers?
Oh god.
What's that
Phantom
guy's
Limb.
name with the Phantom Limb? Oh, I probably should have guessed it's Phantom Limb, huh? But it's like, does he still have his phantom limb? How can they just say that that's fact? That's impossible.
Phantom Limb
Like,
didn't have phantom limbs. His arms and legs were just invisible.
yeah, they were invisible.
The one I loved was when he and Brock had to work together, and Phantom Limb just runs out from behind a corner and falls down in front of these two guards, and Brock runs to go help, and he's like, "Oh my god, call an ambulance!" And the guards like freak out, and they turn around, and Brock just murders them.
Yeah, that was. Ah, man, that was all. The Venture Brothers are such a good show that I don't even describe it to people because I'm afraid my description will
Mm.
not be adequate. I love that show.
See, I, as you can tell, I like to describe things because I'm quite good at embellishing and remembering like the details that I thought makes something interesting. But yeah, I do agree. If you go too far into detail about things, it can really ruin it for other people. Because either you're going to
Yeah.
tell them all the good parts, or you're gonna turn them off because they're just not going to be interested in what you're saying.
Exactly. That's the one I'm worried about, turning them off from it. I can talk about science stuff, you know, that things I'm enthusiastic but aren't like a movie or something, because I always get I never get afraid that I'm going to turn people off science. It's like you either like science or you don't.
Fair enough.
You know.
Um,
But back to
magic.
sorry.
No, it's fine. Like I said,
Yeah, it's funny, the dichotomy. I could not be further from magic, but the illusion magic is actually fascinating.
Oh,
you know?
definitely. And no, I am not a Wicca.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear. Not that I'm against Wiccas, but you know.
No, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not a Wicca. I'm not a Wicca, Alec. I'm a member of the Mormon religion.
Oh, fantastic.
Would you like to join our church? You get to bang multiple chicks.
Oh, you're one of those. It depends. How much authority do I have?
None. Dude,
Oh, well,
you're married to
fuck
multiple women. What makes you think you're gonna have any authority?
Well, it is a compound. They are crazy cult ladies who are completely brainwashed, so I don't know.
I think, unpopular opinion, I think we should totally allow polygamy, because what could be better for a working woman than to come home and have a wife? I mean, we live. No, seriously, we
I'm
live.
not against. I'm not actually. I actually support. Again, it comes down to my.
Yeah, I mean, personally, as long as no one's being abused or forced into the relationship, I think it's fine. But the point I'm making is, just we live in an economy where you have to have two working parents most of the time. So why can't we have three parents to a household, or four or five? You still there? Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Hello? Oh, okay. I don't know if we're still recording, but if we are, hi everybody. This is your alone time with Ian. How's it going? You ever wonder what it'd be like to spend a romantic evening alone with me as we slip underneath the covers and I pull out my rubber chicken and you look over confused and you see that I'm wearing cloud
Hello?
makeup and a rainbow wig. Hello?
Oh, no, go on. Don't let me interrupt. There's something about a rubber chicken and...
Are we still recording?
Yeah, we got all that. That all happened.
Good. I'm glad. If anyone's still watching at this point, they deserve that. That's your prize.
Well, you just gave him the pledge and the turn, but you didn't give him the prestige. What'd you do with the rubber chicken?
It went to a very special place.
Okay.
And everyone that was involved in this trick can totally feel it right about now. Don't rip it out all at once. That'll hurt.
Yeah, you need to go slow, breathe, relax. Relax. That's the most important thing. Relax. Just let your muscles go lax and let your body do what it does naturally. Oh.
Okay, anyway.
Speaking of making birds disappear, magic.
Exactly.
Now,
Great transition, by the way.
thank you.
That's the other thing. This is here on Sid Part 2's channel. We don't mind awkward transitions that make no sense. As long as they're transitions. Maybe I should pull Monty Python. And now for something completely different.
Yes. Oh man, I kind of wish Milan.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's disappointing that he couldn't
because-
make it today. Or what are you talking about? Milan's right there. He's waving at you. And the audience.
Why is it showing him offline then?
You don't know what you're talking about. It's a magic trick, Alec.
Oh, okay.
There's going to be a prestige later.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm stupid. Sorry.
He's disappeared right now. He's going to come back. He was here at the beginning. That was the pledge. The duration of the video is the turn, and he's going to be back at the end. Maybe. If I have the time to do something of Milan saying like, "Hello, I am back." We can get the video.
I'm sorry I wasn't there before. What's that, Alec? Like you just spliced that in? That actually would be pretty good.
That would be really funny. Maybe. We'll see. In all honesty, though, everyone, we were all set to go with Milan tonight, but apparently his brother Mickey, who you heard stealing his shoes in the last installment of Geeky Gentleman, which now has a name I'm quite excited about, Mickey apparently fucked up his computer. A mutual friend of Milan and I's believes that Mickey is imaginary, and it seems totally possible.
No, I've seen Mickey.
Oh.
I've seen Mickey.
Well, fine.
Are
Are you sure you've seen Mickey, or do you just think you've seen Mickey?
I've been told that I've seen Mickey. I don't live in Australia, and I don't see why he would lie about that. So.
Oh, that reminds me. You watched that video of Milan and I's revenge thing, right? You saw that, right?
Yeah, were you gonna get revenge?
Yeah, and I had the double lightsabers.
Yeah, and Zuzabar flew in on a dragon or something.
No, I flew in on a dragon direct.
Yeah, you flew in on a dragon, and he
got caught on fire.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, I always look back at that video I did with Milan because this is the first thing we did together, and I'm really quite impressed because he lives in Australia and I'm in Indiana. It looks like we're on.
Wow, you're in India?
Indiana.
Oh, I think you said India. I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Nah,
oh no, you're in Indiana. That's not cool. No, I'm just,
thanks.
I have no opinions on Indiana one way or the other.
Well, you
I've
see,
never thought of-
if you go out the door and you look to your left, you'll see some corn. And if you go out the door and you look to your right, you'll see some more corn. And then if you look above you, you'll see the sky and become filled with a very particular urge to murder your fellow Indianians. Interesting statistic. I think I might have mentioned this in a video before, but you weren't there, so you get to find out now. The Midwest states right next to each other, Ohio and Indiana. Ohio has the record for the most astronauts from any one state. All right. Indiana has the record for the most serial killers or mass murderers from one state. So there's something about the Midwest that makes people just want to flee the earth or murder each other.
Each other, yes. It's like, this cannot be all there is. And if there is, fuck it, I'm eating someone's face. It's just like, oh man.
All right, well, like
Really? The most serial killers? That's creepy.
serial
as fuck.
killers and mass murderers. Charles Manson.
Like, is it
John
by a
Jones.
wide margin, or is it just like by a few?
Well, no, like some of the most notable ones too. Charles Manson, born in Indiana. Jim Jones, born in Indiana. He sold monkeys door to door. Which is an odd trade, admittedly. Maybe we should have included about him.
Yeah, selling monkeys door to door. Can you do that? Well, I guess you could
Back then.
Yeah, you can't do that now.
There are a lot of them. Those are just the like two most notable I can think of.
Yeah.
But I want to say Dahmer. Like I know he moved,
Dahmer.
but I want to say Dahmer.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Dahmer killed far away from where he actually was born.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure he moved across state and
Mhm.
kind of left everyone he knew behind and made a new life and then started murdering people.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's the case.
It's either Dahmer or Bundy. I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. But yes,
Could be Bundy.
yes,
Could
some
be
of the most notable and literally the most serial killers per state. It's almost impressive. I'm almost proud if it wasn't disgusting.
if it wasn't horrifying and something not to be proud of at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Be proud.
If it wasn't something not to be proud of, I'd be proud.
Yes.
If I weren't objectively a horrible person for being proud of this, I'd be proud of this. So,
well,
wait. Here's what pisses me off. You ever look at a state quarter from Ohio? They got an astronaut on it because of their record. Why don't I get a picture of Charlie Manson? Huh?
Can you have a picture of a coin or someone who's still alive? Because he's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, fine. Not Charlie Manson. Let me just get like a dismembered hooker.
Oh God! Why? It's just no one understands what they're looking at. It's just a thing with a. It's like, why is this a pile of body parts? It's just.
You've learned your state history though. But no, seriously, like I have this joke. Let's just go murder someone no one cares about. You know where I can find a good hooker?
Oh.
Because like it always seems that the hookers are the ones being murdered.
Yeah, sex workers' rights and all that.
Oh, I could care less. I mean, I really liked the.
Hold up. I have to say this. I officially denounce what he said when this goes on video, as I don't.
No, I could care less. It's a job risk. If you're getting into cars with people you don't know, you have to be ready for this eventuality that you will be someone's lampshade.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's not their profession of preference most of the time. Most of the time they're doing it because it's either that or don't feed their kids. I mean, it's
fair
not
enough,
like
but like there are
fuck
plenty
a bunch
of
of dudes that are ugly and hairy for no reason. Like,
no, there are
I'm
plenty
pretty
of
sure.
hookers that are doing it because it's the only thing they're good at because they didn't pay attention in school. There's a joke that I loved. It's one thing that happened to me, and I was in this class, and there's this kid answering all the questions. I believe it was a math class, and just hand kept shooting up. He answered all the questions, and this girl just made that annoyed noise, that kind of noise, right? And
Yeah.
and the the kid looked at her, and he started feeling all bad, and all the kids started laughing at him. But then the teacher got up to defend him, and he's like, "Hey, don't you be making fun of him. He's gonna be your boss someday." And the nerd looked up and was like, "Nah, I'm not gonna be a pimp."
Oh, did that happen, or was that a joke?
That's a joke.
Because that's awesome.
That's a joke. It's one of those things I like to imagine happened.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I always try to sell jokes that aren't unbelievable as things that happen to me, just because it makes people less prepared for the craziness.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean,
when I say, "Here's this joke I know," there's a different reaction than when I say, "This happened."
yeah, no, it definitely is different.
Actually,
the investment and way of listening changes,
Let's stop on this point. Alec, would you like to come back next time we do an idea topic and talk about comedy?
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
That's something I know a little bit more about. I'm not a comedian by any means, but I freaking love comedy.
Yeah, we can talk about the art of comedy just like we did here with the art of magic, and we might or might not find a movie to go off of for that. It'd have to be something that we can all get. We'll see. It might not be like right away, but it's definitely something that'd be worth going into because I have my feelings about comedy and I dabble in it here and there in different ways.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good topic for a future video. But let's wrap up on magic here, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, I hope I did the best I could because
You did
again,
great, man.
I
loved the argument. I loved getting into the themes of the prestige and connecting that with magic. Something we didn't talk about a lot that I kind of wanted to is the parallels. Like did watching the prestige and the commitment that both Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale gave to the art form, did that give you a different impression of magicians as a whole?
Oh yeah, the entire movie. I now see magicians. I thought it was much more light. Like I couldn't imagine how deep and rich the whole thing is. See, that sounds cheesy. I don't mean rich. I mean, you get what I'm saying? It just seems like a lighthearted thing. I didn't know how serious and the politics within You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean,
I had no concept of that, which is why I was so unprepared because I didn't know that world existed.
Yeah.
Like that's, leave it to the 1800s. No, but a lot of that still happens. Like if you reveal other people's magic, they'll like blacklist you.
Yeah, well, it depends if someone challenges you to do it or not. First of all. And if how someone's billing themselves, it may or may not happen.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. I mean, if you do a trick because there are a lot of tricks that magicians don't want anyone to reveal.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's looked down upon because it's not real magic, so there is a limit, not of what they can do, but there has to be a buffer time between coming up with new stuff where they can't feed themselves.
Obviously,
so if someone just reveals all the best tricks that most can do, then
yeah, I really liked how the movie gave a lot of respect to the art form, and you got the impression that this is something that Nolan been wanting to do for a long time. Another thing that I kept meaning to bring up, but it never really came up, is I would love to see a prequel to this. If they could get someone that looked enough like Christian Bale, or twins that looked enough like Christian Bale, I would love to see a prequel, not even a full film, just like maybe a half-hour short on a younger version of Christian Bale's character and how he got into magic. I'd find that would be a movie or a film or a short I'd be willing to watch because I'm genuinely interested on how someone became that committed to the art form. It's not something I need. It's just something that I think would be good to see.
I would much rather them make a full-length movie about, say, a different magician, and excuse me. That way, they're not limited on what they can do with the plot, and they can really show the struggles of what it is to become a magician.
Definitely,
you know what I mean.
I'll agree with you
to
there.
Grow up that way.
I was just so drawn into this character. We never really got to see why he was so committed, why both of them were so committed to the art form. We knew that they were, but it was never really explained beyond the fact that they were. So I would love to see that. I don't need it. It's just something like if it could happen, I would definitely watch it. One other thing is on the tip of my tongue. Oh, now I don't know if you remember when this came out. It was like 06 or maybe late 05. When The Prestige came out. And around the same time, like within the same, not calendar year, but within the same 12 months, a movie with Edward Norton came out called The Illusionist. It was another movie about a magician, which is odd because when you think about it...
Didn't it turn out to be really awful?
No, it's a good movie. It's not the same. It's not in the same genre at all. It's a mystery, but not in the same way.
Okay.
He actually has magical powers in that movie.
Oh, okay. So it went fantasy, where this one went more sci-fi. Well, the sci-fi was actually secondary, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
one thing I was gonna say about The Prestige is you could actually tell that whoever wrote it loved a magician had to have written that story.
Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan, they're brothers. They wrote the screenplay.
Really?
I
Really?
know Nolan's a fan of misdirection. He uses it in all his movies to fool you. So he might be interested in that part of it. I don't know much about Jonathan Nolan, to be honest with you, besides the fact that he helps his brother work.
Was there a novel, or was it just a screenplay?
I don't know. Let's look.
Because if there was a novel,
Because Jonathan Nolan's a writer. He wrote a short story that was adapted for the screen and became became Memento.
Okay. See, that I need to see, because that's not the first time I heard about that. I've heard that it was good, but now that I've seen The Prestige, Christopher Nolan. I mean,
oh yeah, it's a 1995 novel by Christopher Priest.
Okay, whoever Christopher Priest is, that guy loved magic.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had as I won't say he had as much devotion to it as the two fictional characters, but you could tell the respect for it. That it wasn't just there was a respect from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just glorifying it. You know the way they try to do a period piece and they'll try to. Sometimes it's okay when they do that, but they'll try to glorify a particular job or a particular art form. But
this was very gritty in its own way. I mean, it glorified parts of it, but it showed you just how risky this stuff was.
And how brutal it can be with the crushing of the birds and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
there was that was one of the lines that got echoed throughout the movie, lesser so than some of the others, but you have to be willing to get your hands dirty.
Even if you don't actually do so.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the thing that's why Michael Caine felt so bad when he found out what Hugh Jackman was doing. He just couldn't believe that he helped. He wasn't fully responsible, but he helped push him along to this point because he encouraged him to do everything.
Well, here's what I think happened, and I think this happens in real life, and I think this happened. Any one of us might have done this. I'm a personal believer that. I think free will exists, but I don't. I put a lot less stock in free will than most people do. We are animals. Most of the time, we don't know why we do the things we do. There are events that lead us a certain way, and we do what seems like a good idea at the time. What I think is there was someone who did have a strong ethical core, taking someone or telling things to someone whom he didn't know doesn't. The same advice for two people can be drastically different in how they're executed. If you're telling someone whom you know would never harm a fly, you need to be devoted. You need to be willing to sacrifice everything to get what you want. That's one thing. But if you're telling that to someone you don't know is a sociopath, and I don't necessarily mean that makes a person a bad person. There are functioning sociopaths.
Of course.
But you have to be careful with the type of advice you give to different. The wrong advice to the wrong person could be disastrous, especially if you're their mentor.
Mm-hmm.
You need to look at the person. Is he behaving in a way that shows they actually feels empathy, or is he acting to go to just out of survival? And does he even know the difference? You get what I'm saying? It seems like it was a good man giving good advice to
the wrong person.
And I say bad, the wrong person. Not so much a bad man, just someone who could not handle that type of advice. When he means I'm willing to give up everything, he really meant it. Whereas Michael Caine clearly meant within reason. Don't destroy your life and everyone around you. You know what I mean?
Don't kill people. Animals
exactly.
are one thing, but that's one of the dirty sides of the trade. But don't put people in danger.
And Michael Caine was even the one who came up. Didn't he come up with the smashing bird thing?
No, he didn't invent the trick. They said that was old hat several times throughout the movie. Michael Caine was the one that, if not invented, at least utilized the disappearing cage that went up Hugh Jackman's coat.
That's what I mean. He invented that thing, right? That was the one he.
I don't know.
I
don't know if he invented it. I mean, there's no indication that he personally invented it. I think he might have discovered the technology and been the first to apply it to magic.
Exactly. He was. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It doesn't really matter to the story, so
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Nolan released director's cuts. That probably would have been a throwaway line of dialogue that got cut out of the movie.
yeah.
If
Well,
I
he
guess.
presented it to him was my point.
Yeah.
He showed him an alternate way of doing things, which showed that he man, I feel sorry for Michael Caine's character because it just seems like he goes in, even though he was supposed to be the wisest person, I think he was in way over his head.
Well, to see,
He was telling
essentially,
things.
to see your two sons kill each other, because that's what he was. He was a surrogate father to both of them at the beginning of the movie. To watch them at each other's throats and to murder each other like they did had to just been heartbreaking. He talked about it, obsession is a young man's game, and I don't think that's why he didn't go to America with them. I think he could not contemplate the idea of where this had to end, and he's the first one
Yeah,
to notice it's going to end with someone's body in the ground.
either that or someone completely destroyed emotionally, crazy, driven insane.
Yeah,
Maybe even to suicide, maybe not, but driven to either getting themselves behind bars or ruining their career in a way that it's not even basically ruining that person's future.
yeah,
It would lead them to ruin. That's the word I'm looking for.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. He saw that and he just couldn't do it. It wasn't. I think what he meant by obsession was his will to follow him rather than.
I could not see him. Like he was their father. It's very clear that the two got along really well. I mean, they bickered like brothers. They loved each
Yeah.
other. Like, you got the feeling that they honestly cared for each other, if not loved, but cared about each other in the beginning. And they were both, his students. And to see them kill each other, to see two men that he helped teach destroy each other, was just very, very heartbreaking for him. And he said it was obsession that he couldn't chase, but no one wants to bury a child, much less two of them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the fact that the two, it raises another thing because we're not. Well, no, we're not dealing with triplets because he really was both those people.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. We'll end up going on forever on that.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. It was a longer video. Like I said, I'm trying to keep these around an hour to an hour and a half, but this is such a rich topic, and I mean, it was such a broad topic, magic as an art form, that it was just so far-reaching. Hopefully, we'll be back next week with Zazubar and Milan Jeftic, 1992. Alec probably definitely going to come on the show again because it's just a lot of fun talking to you, man.
Oh, thank you.
I was just looking.
It was really fun being here too.
Mm-hmm. I was just looking at my YouTube update. I'm going to link this here on the channel for you because it's relevant to something we're talking about. Hank Green over on SciShow has a video up about the Tesla Museum that's attempting to be erected. I think they might need funding or something. So definitely, if you read up on Tesla or you know anything about them and you can afford to donate, go check that out or see what it's about. I haven't even watched it yet. But I hope you guys watch it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I know it's kind of weird to talk about magic and science and the same thing, but hey, whatever. We'll be back next week. I don't know what the topic of discussion is going to be. I'm going to let Bill choose it since it's his triumphant return, and I'll see you guys later.
All right, see ya.